Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Clover Hour. You're here with me, Clover. What's up? How's everybody? It's Saturday. I thought it was Friday. Gabe thought it was Friday. We all thought it was Friday. Serenity, thank you! Thank you for that start. That was wonderful. It is another commission, because that's all my life is. It's commission after commission. See, later this year should be different. Should be different. We'll make it different. This year's gonna be so different. Hi, Rummel. Thank you. Welcome. How's my sound? Is it okay? Is things balanced? Is things balanced? Hey, Alex. Yeah, this one's been fun. It's been alright, you know? Nope, it's Sunday. Damn it, again. I mean, maybe for you it actually is Sunday. Sounds good? Sounds good? Sounds good. Thanks. How's everybody's Saturday? Did you guys do stuff? You having a time, Gabe? Rudy, go with Papa's. Oh, hey, Kristen! How you doing? You okay? I heard about the stuff. I hope you're okay. Yeah, Alex! Sleep! Yo! Sitting around and working. I feel you, Serenity. I feel you. That's a total mood. Alright, we're gonna switch over to this other crap here in a minute. So, do I have it up here? Hold on. So, I've got a couple commissions that I have that I could have worked on during this stream, but, I think I chose this one because it's the more fun. Otherwise, it's this, which is kind of, you know, it's alright, but it's not as fun. There's not as much going on. I mean, it's a basic portrait, you know. Or there's this other one. And this dog, his name is Pooter. He's a miniature pincher. Let me find him. It's funny because most of my sketchbooks are blank because I tear out pages. So if anybody's like, hey, can I see your sketchbook? I'd be like, it's not what you think. It's just all blank. And this is Pooter. He's going to be eating stuff, a lot of stuff, and cooking things, and anyway, he's not there yet. Chancho! Chancho, come here. Chancho, come. Chancho, come. Hold on, I gotta put on other music because this is weird without it. Chancho, come. Chancho! Chancho! Shopping mall? Really? Who's doing D&D campaigns in a shopping mall? Maybe I shouldn't ask that. It's probably a lot of people, actually. Here we go. This is the jam. Remmels did all the things. Hey, that's good. At night, though, do none of the things. You'll feel better. Alright. Just try and keep my mind busy. That's smart, Kristen. I'm proud of you. Keep it busy. Keep it off of certain things, you know. You can do it. So, Gabe, his Kickstarter ended. So, we did it. Yay! Awesome. Holy shit, wow. Thank you. Holy shit, wow. Holy shit, wow. Welcome. On my Instagram, in my Insta story, I posted, I made some bread, okay? And it's this cute little loaf. It's about this big. It's got a really cute picture. Like, I had a moment about it. Anyway, I put it up, and for my monthly Mythical Guardians, you're gonna get a recipe for it. It's 2 ingredients. The bread looks so much more intense than it is, but it's 2 ingredients. Shh, don't look it up. It's gonna be a surprise. Anyway, for my curious collectors. Mighty Walmart barbarians battle the target hordes while at the Taco Bell rolling for non-food poisoning taco. Yo, right? I understand that completely. I've never gotten food poisoning at Taco Bell, but I have gotten it at Chipotle. And it was always the chicken every time it happened. I think it happened twice. Both times chicken. And that was a long time ago. I've since been vegetarian, but man... Go safe. Go barbacoa. Thanks, Serenity. So your package then has to wait at least for that, right? Not only just for your commission, but also the book and whatever else you got. Man. Yeah, yours, I have a box over on the side of my desk that I've just been filling with everything you get, so I don't forget it now, because making a list wasn't working. So, hold on. Alright. I'm gonna ship 40 boxes on Monday, so that's coming. So every month I do about 40 patron shipping things. And for the Kickstarter we got about 140 people. So I don't want to say I'm kind of already prepped for it, but I'm already prepped for it, kind of. I don't know. So I ran out of time before the stream. I was gonna do something real quick. Don't be sorry, jerk. Don't be sorry. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I was gonna do a little color study to see what I like. I'll do it up here. I would have done it in Photoshop, but whatever. Trying to figure out what two colors I want him to be and what colors I want them to be to balance the whole thing. Granted, since it's a book cover, I can fix it in post for the client and, you know, whatever. But for right now, I mean, if they're too bright. So he's a fire mage, he's like a paladin, and he's a bard. So I'm thinking being super basic about it and making him red. He was between blue and green, and I think I'm gonna go, you know what, I'm just gonna pull the trigger. Forget the color study. Because I think he should be blue, and then I was gonna make him gold and green. My mind is so associated with colors in terms of, like, every color has its personality alliance. So, because of all the pet portraits I do, because I do the more aggressive pets usually as reds, and, you know, the nice pets and noble pets as blues, and rangers and envious, jealous, anyway, is green. So, like, my head's in that zone. And I sometimes have to break myself of that, but other times I'm like, maybe I can use this power, you know? I don't know. So let's do that. So I'm just going to look at it and think for a minute. What I usually do when I don't want to just dive in right away is I take one of the lighter colors and I just start filling that in, because it's kind of non-committal, right? And I can start warming up to it. Though I do need a... I think Gabe said something, but I'm not sure. Hold on. I'm gonna mute it. Gabe, no one's gonna hear that. Don't do it again! No one heard you! He mad. Are you watching then, Gabe? Are you here? I didn't think you were gonna watch. You like blue. I like blue to an extent. I can't do 255 blue. Like, blue screened death blue. I won't. I don't even have it anywhere in any of my colors. And if I have, like, a set that has it in it, I throw it out and I get more of a cyan blue. I can't do it. It rubs me the wrong way. So, hold on, I gotta find this owl. Okay. I'm looking at his colors. You're everywhere? God, you said you weren't gonna! And I was like, oh, okay, well, I was at your stream, you're not gonna be at my stream. And here he is at my stream. Whatever, man. You guys, Gabe's here, so don't say anything about him anymore. Okay. So his eyes are closed. Alright, whatever. He probably did. Honestly, falafel isn't far from, you know, normal things he would say. I like that you're low-key prepping for your own Kickstarter. Are you saying, with all the, Patreon crap? Okay, so this was cute. I had made this into, not beer, but I had made like it had foam and it had bubbles coming out of it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's more for kids, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not for kids, but it's more for like just whoever. So I thought the bubbles were enough to make it look like not beer. But then I was like, you know what? I could just add 2 blobs of ice cream and all of a sudden it's a float. So now it is a cute little ice cream float. How about that? I think this marker's dying. And then over here we've got some bugs, because all these guys eat bugs, so I thought that'd be really cute to throw in some bugs. If there are areas that look weird that there aren't pencil markings or something, it's because it's going to kind of fade off, and there's going to be a vignette when I put it into Photoshop, so I'm not going to do extra stuff if I don't need to, you know? You know. Could be a root beer float. I also like Coca-Cola floats and Dr. Pepper floats. I don't think you can ever really do it with clear pop. The only clear pop I've used in a float, oh man, the best thing about baby showers and junk is when they take the 7-Up or the Sprite and they mix it with sherbet. Oh my god. It's so good. Purple Cow. No. I've heard of it though. How have I heard of it? That's an alcoholic drink, right? I don't usually drink. I don't know. I'm that guy. Oh, grape soda? Ooh, ew. Can't do it. Can't do grape soda. Artificial grape is like my kryptonite. I can't do it. That and artificial banana. Ugh. Sorry, Alex. You get that all to yourself though, man. If we ever hang out and you're, you know, there's like grape soda around, it is all yours, bro. That is on you. Though, I would assume that orange soda would actually taste pretty good. Like dreamsicle type stuff. Yeah? Maybe? Has anybody done that? I don't know. Also, yeah, this is dying. Ah! I don't have room on my desk for my keyboard, so it's over there. Okay, since this is fantasy, we're gonna fudge things. Just a smidge. Is it? Okay, I don't know why in my 34 years on this planet I've never tried that, because that seems like a duh. Also, if the music ever gets you to a point of being suicidal, let me know and I will change it. I know that piccolos can kind of, you know, get on people's nerves, believe me. I understand, and I sympathize, so let me know. Oh, hey, how you doing, Jamie? Where you been? Fudge is good. That was left field, but I totally agree with you. Fudge is very good. Oh my god. I know kind of what I want the owl to look like, so we're just gonna kind of smudge the colors I want to use for him. Yeah? Yeah, we'll do that. That's fine. And I'm not gonna do a gray mouse. I was thinking about doing a gray mouse because I usually do brown mice, but I was like, I should probably do a gray, or not a gray mouse, because he's gonna be wearing chainmail. So, you know. Probably turn that down a little bit more. Picca highs to piccolos. Oh, you're killing me. I love it. Everything's good with me too. A little overwhelmed with all the stuff I've got going on, but come March? No. Hey, April. April, not March. Chacho, come here. Chacho, come. Chacho, come. Come here. Stop looking outside. It makes you crazy. Hey! Gabe's on dog duty, so he'll be coming out in a moment to come get Chacho. We couldn't trust him, Gabe. We couldn't trust him. Chacho! I thought he'd be quiet. No? Now he needs to be taken away. He can't handle it. He just keeps looking out the window and making himself crazy. It's kind of like, you know, people who get too revved up about politics, but they keep looking at the news. It's like, bro, stop looking at the news if it just makes you upset. And he's just looking outside, and it's making him upset. The dog. He's cute as hell, so that helps. It's not a big deal. I don't look outside either. I don't go outside, man. Doubtful. We haven't seen a squirrel in our yard for a long time. Though we do have a warren that's somewhere outside our front door. Because we get a lot of bunnies. So they're out there somewhere. How are you guys doing? How's your February? February. No one actually enunciates that. February. Fabu. It's like library. Nobody says library. February. Library. February. I think I say February. I don't say the R. The extra R. It's probably better to stop looking at the news, like for real. I can't even... Ugh. Going outside is quite dangerous. Let me make sure I have enough for this. You guys. Oh, and then there's this guy who I've got to do Kickstarter art for. He's got me doing like familiar cards for D&D. So I'm doing all these familiars, which is cool, but that starts, or rather it should start soon. And then, oh, I'm just doing this whole thing, that's right. But they're not due until June, which is nice, but anyway. Yeah, this is dying. Even though it is dying, though, that's okay, because that'll work well with the fact that it's an old map. It's gonna aid in the texture. Alright, maybe I'll find something more atmospheric. Hold on. This might drive me crazy. I don't know. Hello, Alexander Davenport. How are you? Welcome. What is the illustration? It is of a barred owl, a mouse knight, and a frog mage playing D&D. It is for a book cover for a client that I have. What the hell was I doing? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, barred owl. Isn't that funny? It's like barn owl. Come on. It's a joke. Oh, Wizard's Tower. Let's try that one. Maybe this one sucks. We'll see. Thank you. I appreciate that. Rest in peace, Marker. Yeah. I'm glad you approve. How was your Saturday, bro? Oh, yeah. Hey. Alex, you'll like the Yisties mock-up here. Like, first of all, I'm gonna try to show this without giving it away, but the Guardian gift for this month is leavening, which is kind of funny, considering the whole thing is very bread themed, and this whole thing is just littered with lots and lots of bread things. It's also really serious, though. After I wrote it, I realized it was really, really serious. I'm like, well, it's cute, too. It's like one of those things where it's got, you know, cute overtones, but there's also that darkness that's down there. I usually kind of fit that in, but yeah, man, breads. Oh, damn. You're in my general chat? There's a different kind of chat? Oh. You mean on Instagram? Or what are you talking about? I'm confused. Real quick. I'm gonna do some more marketing here. There are 2 different types of chats? Am I wrong? Is that weird? Oh, and Discord! Oh! Oh! Oh, you're in the voice chat. Man, I don't have that hooked up. I do not know how that works. I'll have to look into that for a later time, but so everybody who's on my tier that gets that stuff, sorry about that, Alexander, also gets these bread stickers. As well as, Alex in the chat helped me with these puns. So there's lots of cute little loaves here. There's a bagel. There's some rosemary bread. This croissant is life, let me tell you. There's a little dinner roll there. I tried to add butter to that one. It didn't look right at all. Another pun. Here is a baguette. This reminded me of old Burger King tabs you'd pull off of like the drinks and stuff and the fries. Do you guys remember that? I'm too old, but whatever. Another cute little bun. This one looks like it has a butt. And a pretzel. Very underrated pretzels. I think more people need to love pretzels. So you get all those stickers, as well as the button or magnet, a lore scroll, a guardian's gift, and oh, a bonus this month. Something extra. Because, you know, Valentine's Day or whatever, but it's about loaf, not love, alright? You remember him too? Good. Okay, so it's not just me. Like when Burger King was like, what was it? Brown, orange, and green? And yellow? Something like that. I don't know, it was really weird colors. But yeah, you get the bread stickers too. All for $8! What? It's like the price of a value meal. Kinda, not really. Maybe a coffee or 2. I don't know. Depends on who you are. Okay. Let's do the grays. Because once the grays are down, then I'm not thinking too much about color. Like if the grays aren't down, then I think too much about what colors are going where. Oh, Alex, remind me later or message me now on Instagram or something to tell you something. I'll remember what it is once you say, hey, that thing, and I'll be like, oh yeah, okay. It's just right now, I don't know if I'll remember to say it. So message me real quick. Is it? Okay. Well, then I at least was right, but at the cost of many millions of Americans, I guess. Alex, I assume that was you. Bueno. Thank you. Thank you, Remmels. You helped. That bad. Some value. Gah. Hey, Gabe, you might want to come get Butters. She's like hyperventilating on my lap. I think she'd be happier with you. Would you be happier somewhere else? Look, I've pulled a palm out of my lap. Here's a palm. She's so happy. But she like gets warm too quickly. So like she's hyperventilating right now. Because she's made of cotton or whatever. Oh, you burped. That was cute. Gabe! Come get Butters! Go. Go with Papa. $5? Hell yeah. No. And I honestly thought I would get that much more often. We adopted her with the name Butters. So, go with Papa. There she is. Here she comes. No, she was named Butters when we got her. But it's very fitting, and I don't know, she's old enough. Like, she's like 7 years old, something like that. And she's really messed up. She's been through a lot of shit. So we were like, let's not change her name. It's cute anyway. Okay, but Chancho, you gotta stay there. Because if you go near the window, you're gonna have her, like, freak out. I applaud you, Remmels. Good job. No, Tad, we didn't. So I had another pet named Omelet, and when I had Omelet, I realized, damn, food names are best names for animals. So when we got her and her name was already Butters, I was like, dope, we're gonna keep that because it's cute. So we did. But yeah, no, I'm assuming, I don't know. It seems like a palm name. Oh my god, yes, brand new one. Awesome. What color was I looking for? Where are you, 78? I'm looking. Where are you? Oh my god, for real? Where is it? Like I just saw it. Where is it now? There's 70. There's 78. No, there it is. Too late. So sad. Oh, really? Yeah, I never in my life thought I would get a palm. But, I mean, there's kind of a long story to why we ended up getting palms. But I've always been a fan of big dogs. And we have a bulldog, and she is great. But when Gabe and I decided, because we both go to conventions, and we used to go to them together. So, like, we'd both get into, like, you know, C2E2, Emerald City, Dragon Con, all that stuff. And we'd go together, and it was really fun, because it was, like, work and vacation, and blah, 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 blah. But then we got the bulldog, who was our first dog, and it's like, well, you know, we gotta stay home with her, because right now she's super high maintenance and all that, and honestly, they will be for the rest of their lives, because they're bulldogs. But we were like, well, if someone's staying home anyway, it kind of seems like a waste to not take in other animals that may need something and share our home with them, because it's like staying home for one dog just kind of seems like, you know. So we got 2 more dogs. We adopted 2 Poms. Butters has a really sad history. She was in a hoarding situation. So there's that. She had like 12 tumors, and she got like all of her teeth removed, basically. So she looks pretty cool. She's got an eye that's blind, so it's like a moon is in her pupil. It's really cool. She actually looks like a little fox wolf thing. I don't know. I like it. And Chancho, he's like a Chihuahua Pom mix, so he's a Pomchi. And he was just in a situation where I guess they had a toddler or something, and it just kept pulling his hair all the time, and he was super angry. He's still kind of angry, but at least he's untouched now by tiny hands, which I think, you know, anybody would hate that, I think. You know? I mean, for real. Alright, that's gonna be green. Chancho, come here. He's going over by the window. I gotta get him before he goes back. Chancho, come. Come here. I'll give you this. Chancho, come. Come here. Good boy. There you go. Stay here. Okay. Yeah, let's do that way. Is anybody doing anything cool this weekend? Guys. Tell me about your lives. So I usually stream on Fridays. And I'm thinking about switching to Saturday. Because, I don't know, every time I get to Friday, it's like I never want to stream. Granted, I didn't really want to stream today either, but I don't know. It's just Twitch isn't what it used to be, and it makes me sad. Like, there was a time that it was, like, pretty good even for creatives, but nowadays it's like, it's not as good. Let's do... this is green. Granted, I mean, I know the platform isn't even for creatives, so there's that. And I really wish they would make a platform for creatives, someone, somewhere, that it's actually reputable and good and, you know, doesn't get full of porn like Picardo did. Picardo was nice until it just was used basically for porn. I think the problem was it was, like, Twitter hosted. So, I mean, if we just got a platform that was, you know, better maintained, I guess, maybe that'd be good. Like a coloring book thing. Well, are you making a coloring book or aren't you? I don't see why not. Just do it. Screw it. For the most part, Picardo. Picarto. It was like Twitter's streaming thing, and a lot of people were using it for art, but it eventually wasn't so good for art because of that reason, so it got kind of a tainted reputation, I guess. But there aren't any really good sole, just creative streaming services, funny enough. Like, I kind of wish there was. Oh, look at me doing that. Ugh. So if you guys want me to zoom in on anything, let me know. I never know what people want to see, so I just have it zoomed all the way out. Well, good, Jamie. Coloring books are easy, and they're really nice, and they're a nice... I think I've explained to people that if they want to get into making more products with their art, that a coloring book is like the perfect way to start. And don't make it too big or something, just make it like 6x6, something like that. Because then you don't have to worry about like printing in color and, you know, color matching stuff and how to do bleeds and all those fun things. If you do a coloring book, usually you can even do it at home. Like, I print both my coloring books at home because it's just black ink. And, you know, as long as you got an inkjet printer, usually you can make black ink look pretty good. So, I think they're a perfect, you know, foot in the door for making merch. So good on you, buddy. 8x10? Alright. If that feels like too much, you know, go down a size or whatever. It's up to you. I did a 9x12 one first, and then now I've got a 5x5. The 5x5, though, has like 30 pages, something like that, because it was a month challenge. And then the bigger one has like 20 something. But yeah, I highly recommend getting Clip Studio though for coloring books, just because it's got the stabilizer tool, and if you want it to look like super professional, you'll use the stabilizer. I shit you not, it's so worth the money. I think you can get it on sale sometimes for like $60. It's so worth it. You have no printer? You can buy printers now for pretty cheap. I forget how much we got ours for. But you can get a really good all-in-one that's got like a scanner and pretty good inkjet quality for like less than $200. Easy. So even ones that go up to like 13 by 19 or at least 12 by 18, like printers nowadays are no joke. It's crazy. Gabe, are you still here? Gabe can get us some links if he's here, if he's modding. He's in the other room, so I gotta talk to him through Twitch. Gabe, can you get Jamie like a couple examples of what we usually talk about? We've had nothing but Epsons, and they've done really well for us. So I don't know. Like we just got new ones, because our old one it was like 4 or 5 years old, something like that, but it still did well. Well, I don't know what your budget is, Jamie. So, I mean, if you're looking for something good versus something cheap, you're going to have different options, obviously. I have a Cricut, and I've got the Epson, and it was like $150, $200, somewhere in there. And I can tell you it does fine. Like all my stickers that I've made, all of my everything that I use my Cricut for, like there is no printer that goes along with a Cricut. It's just whatever printer looks good. Because the Cricut and the printer don't really work together. I don't know. I don't know who told you that, but I don't want to say they're misinformed, but it's like, what's a good printer? What's the best Cricut? They don't really, Pixma. Chancho, come here. Or bring the horn. Honey, do you want that horn? Get that horn, honey. I think I want the table to be brown. This is usually why I don't stream color on the stream, because it's just like, I think it's boring for people to watch. Rendering can be fun for people to watch, but if I'm just like seriously just coloring and picking colors, you're gonna have to painfully watch me pick colors. Yeah, that's the thing you actually want to look at. When you're looking at printers nowadays, honestly, any inkjet is decent at best, or at worst, they're decent. So you can't really fail with that. The point where they're going to get you is the cartridges. We actually got a continuous feed for one of our printers, so it's actually just refillable, right? It's got little tubes on the outside, because the cartridges are like $30 to $60 each, depending on which printer you have. So you kind of want to weigh that, for what you even need it for. Okay. Chancho, come. Come here, Chancho. Chancho, come. Stop going over by the window, sweetheart. Come on. He's been over there all day, just yelling at people. Good boy. It's okay. The Cricut, though, is a little bit more of a money sink. The Cricut, you gotta make sure that you're making something with it that's gonna make the money back. So when we got it, both Gabe and I made stickers with it. Sticker sheets. Don't sell single stickers. It's not worth your time or energy. Make sticker sheets. Those sell better and you can sell them for more. Anyway, so, each sheet's like $5 to sell, and then like the Cricut itself can be $300 to $400, so you gotta kind of do the math there. And unless you're doing pretty good sales on the internet or you're going to conventions, it's gonna take you a while. And unless you're kind of in a really good financial position, it might not be the best option right away. So I don't know, Jamie. If I were you, I would do the coloring book, wait on the Cricut, wait till you've got more of a, I guess, base to do it or whatever, or start doing cons or something. Because otherwise it's going to be a lot of money down without like any return really right away. Like Gabe and I have been in the business for I don't know how long, and we just got the Cricut. So I don't think it's necessary, in other words. So, you know, save your $400 and maybe go to your first con, like, and table at your first con or something. Yeah, Alex, I could see that. Those things are like in the tens of thousands of dollars, aren't they? Those really big Canon ones. Like, those are industrial printers. Like, Gabe and I still do our prints through a company, because printing them at home for conventions, like, you need, you know, 30 to 50 prints, and that's not worth the printing to do at home. You get them for cheaper if you still order from a place. So we do that. And the only real reason we have our printers is we make a lot of zines and books ourselves. Which one of my books is selling a little bit better now, so I think because of that, I'm going to end up outsourcing it to the place we do our prints. So depending on demand and how much you're actually spending in something, you're going to want to change how you do things. If you're kind of experimenting, doing things at home can be worth it because you can do a little at a time, you know? Print on demand sort of thing. But yeah, luckily the technology is at a point where you can't really lose whether it's a scanner or a printer. We also have a laser printer that we use for things we end up giving away at cons, so like flyers and stuff. Toner-based printers, the lasers are really good for that, but that's a very specific thing. I wouldn't even say get a laser printer unless you're making zines, really crappy looking zines, or you're making things that you give away a lot. Otherwise, that's not worth it either for people. I learned early on to buy things as I was required to need them and not to speculate and buy. So, like, I wouldn't buy something like the Cricut until I had stickers and the demographic to print them. And I also use the Cricut for my book covers, too. So, I mean, depending, like I said, on what you're using. Like, Gabe and I want to get an embroidery machine. Like, this is kind of the next thing we were thinking of, but we're not going to do it, obviously, until we've either got designs even made for it or the supply or the demand for it is kind of there. Otherwise, you don't want to buy something and never use it, especially as a freelance artist, like an independent artist. That's a huge upfront cost. Oh, really, Alex? That's so funny. Yeah, it is Pylon. The funny thing is, I remember a time where all-in-one printers were crap. Like, the scanner would be crap if you have a printer attached to it and vice versa. I remember there was a time for that. So I remember having, like, a printer, a scanner, all that stuff, because buying them separately meant that they were better. But nowadays, it's like, you can't really lose, in all honesty. So yeah, now they're actually worth it. Because technology's kind of caught up, you know? I wouldn't say get the cheapest of the cheap nowadays, but I would get at least something middle of the road. And kind of a reputable image one. So like when I say that, you know, Epson, Canon, those names, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, and it's not that way anymore, Jamie. So you don't even have to be afraid of that. Like, we have 2 all-in-ones, and they're, first of all, they're huge, but they're really good. Like, the scanning bed, I think, is 11 by 17 or 12 by 18. Gabe, I can't remember. Do you remember what it is? It's a big scanning bed, and it's even got feeds on it we won't use, but it's still is good, you know. Let's do a 78. Where did the 78 go? I know I found it, and then I lost it again. Are you it? No, you're 72. There's a 78. Yeah, 12 by 18 scan bed. That's pretty good. For the printer we got, that's pretty great. And don't think like bigger DPI means better. Honestly, the highest you'd ever probably need is 600. So, if it's toting that's like 2400 or some crap, you don't need that. You're fine. Yep, that's what I'm saying. Pylon, you got it. Only buy things as you need them. When I first started thinking about going freelance and I still had my full-time job, that was dangerous because I had a lot of money that I could sink into stuff, and you know, that's all I wanted to use it on. So I was buying things as the thought came to me instead of buying things as I needed them, which is a way better way of going about it. So now that I have limited resources, I buy things as I need them instead of, you know, as the thought occurs to me. Right now I'm basically just doing flats on this, which means just getting down all the pigment, and then I'll go through it and I'll render it further. But you get better by practicing what you're doing. The tools don't make the artist, that whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, you get better first and earn the tools. So, best example I can think of now is Cintiqs. You don't suck at art and then buy a Cintiq and then rule at art. No. You suck at art, you get better at art, you get to the point you know you need the Cintiq, and then you get it because you earned it and you know what to do with it now. Because we know so many people that aren't the best artists, and they thought getting a certain expensive tool would save their, you know, art career. Nope. They either don't use it or don't know how to, or they're just not at the point to need it. I don't think that's how it works. That's one of the quotes, yeah. It's, tools don't make the artist makes the tools. So if you've got somebody who is a good artist, they're going to know how to use ketchup to make a masterpiece, right? But, you know. Yeah, but I feel like being fast isn't necessarily the goal. I mean, it depends on what it is. The way you're talking about it, you sound like you're arguing that to be fast at everything, you need to upgrade your tools. That's not necessarily true. I mean, cars are very different than art, let me tell you. Sorry, I hurts. I guess I don't understand what you're saying then. I must be misinterpreting. It's funny because what happened with me is I don't really drive fast. I drive normal. And I drove my mom's Firebird once. And I was driving super slow because if I touched that pedal even the slightest, I would jolt forward. So being a cautious driver, even if given a fast car, I was still cautious, if not more so. So I don't know about that analogy. So you're saying you'd buy a 30 grand camera first and just assume it makes you good? Is that what you mean? Okay. I guess my main point is, if somebody's like, I want to get good at watercolor, they don't buy, Daniel Smith or Winsor Newton watercolors right away because they may not even like watercolor if they've never even tried it. So, starting with some, not too basic, not like Crayola watercolors, but something a little bit cheaper that's not too, too bad would probably be the best bet. Oh, I screwed that up. That's gonna be red anyway. That's okay. And a lot of things on this one are gonna be done digitally too. So, and this is why I don't usually stream while doing this, because I made a mistake. I totally forget what I'm doing sometimes and I make a mistake. Or my own line art confuses me. I do that a lot too. Alright, let's do him because I screwed up. So let's go back and get this guy. Is anybody else working on stuff right now? This is gonna be really dark, but hang out because it's not gonna be that bad once I get it in there. Because I can balance everything in post. Oh, so we were agreeing. Yeah, something you had said sounded totally backwards, and I was like, no. Sorry. I think you were saying the same thing I was. That's why I said the ketchup thing. That's good though, Serenity. I'm proud of you for sketching. Is anybody else just kind of mindlessly sketching? It's good for you. It's therapy. You don't always have to go into sketching with an idea. In fact, sometimes it's good that you don't. You can also discover things during that too, so. Oh yeah, how's Mike Jr., Kristen? Is he good? We like arches if you want to splurge a little bit. He likes cold press. I like hot press. Depending on if they like doing more rough textury stuff, they'll want cold press. But if they don't really like the texture to affect their piece too much, then hot press. Center of attention. Oh no. Alex, what blizzard did you get? God, I haven't gotten a blizzard in a long time. Yeah, do you know, Pylon, kind of what her go-to is for certain stuff? Ooh, Gabe's got a really good point. Yeah, you could do both and have her, if she's not used to it, give her the option, because then she could actually experiment and figure out what she likes, if she's never used it before. That could be cool. Good idea, Gabba. Double fudge cookie dough brownie pieces. Holy shit. Oh my god. That's like my whole day's allotment of calories. It sounds amazing though. Yeah, do the 50-50. I think that'd be cool. Are you making her a leather cover for it too? Okay. I don't want the screen to be too green. Do I? How green is green? That's pretty green. I'll stick with the green I got. I don't want to go too crazy on this palette. What do you guys think? Do you like me streaming on Saturday? Or did you like the Friday better? The Friday. Oh, good, Serenity, you do? I remember somebody last time, I think it was Kitchen, they said they didn't like Saturday. Or couldn't be able to make it. Which if she doesn't come anymore, I'm gonna miss her, but... Ah, that'd be awesome, Pylon. Do it up. You're getting so good at that stuff. I'm really happy for you. Like, I love that you kind of dove into something and you're kind of just owning it, really. It's really cool to watch. Love seeing your progress. I know both Gabe and I think that, so. You've got our support, boo-boo. That's a little too... Where's my 95? 95, there you are. You were? Okay, cool. Yeah, Saturday feels kind of nice. I don't know. It's weird for me now being independent and not being, you know, I guess the best way to say it is we're counterculture. So, weekends for us aren't the same as they were when I had, like, an actual job. And if anything, we don't really go out on the weekends other than going to the gym, and then we just come home. Because it's much better for us to go somewhere during the week because no one's around. Everybody's at work. So we usually do that. So yeah, it's funny because Mondays I can usually depend on people to actually finally hit me back on emails and things, which means that the weekends are pretty quiet for me. That's the only real difference. So that's interesting. Yeah, I think you're doing great, Pylon. Have you gotten, I don't know if you want to do it like full time, but if you do, have you thought about getting your website up for it? Because I think the next step is for you to start putting things you make up on a website, you know? Oh, and I'm going to go back on something I've said in the past because I'm going to start doing this myself, but I highly suggest having an Etsy, but have mainly the things that sell quickly and well on Etsy, and then have things that won't sell crazy quick on your website. So I know that sounds kind of weird, but hear me out. Because it's better because you don't need to keep paying the relisting fee from Etsy if it's on your own website. And hopefully you've got a website that has kind of commerce abilities. We use Squarespace, or at least I do. So I've got my own little shop on there, which is super nice. So I'm going to start putting my original art up there because original art, typically if you're not at a convention, sells really slowly. Because I always think, and I think this is a healthy way to think about it, but that your original art is meant for someone. And you just have to hold on to it until that someone sees it, right? So it could take a long time. I had been carrying a couple pieces with me to cons for like 3 years. And then someone finally like freaked out and would buy it. And it's like, well, it was meant for you. It was trying to find you, you know? And that thought process has made it a lot easier for me to just keep toting around art. Because sometimes, you know, when I would talk to people and they're like, oh, my original art never sells and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's because it's waiting. You know, it's just going with you for the journey to find that person. So don't think that, you know, it's not right for these people or you're bad or anything like that. It's just there is someone that's meant for that and you'll feel a lot better about it. So anyway, putting that on your website is a better idea than to keep paying. I think it's every 3 or 6 months. On Etsy, there's a 20-cent relisting fee. And yeah, you're like, oh, 20 cents, whatever. But if you're me and there's like, you know, a bunch of originals, you don't want to keep paying that if no one's going to see it. But I highly suggest still having an Etsy because the traffic alone and the marketing that it does for you and the fact it's a reputable, trusting website is worth it for the most part. So all my prints are up there, my pens, things that do typically really well, they're up there. But the things that are a little bit more niche or, you know, don't require as many eyes, you know, or if somebody at a con asks me for an original, I can be like, well, just go to my website, you know. So it's still there, it's just you're not wasting money, I guess, is a good way to look at it. There you go, Pylon, you nailed it. Squarespace is great. It's a little bit spendier, but it's one of those things where you're paying for convenience. So I think for me it's $12 a month right now, which is kind of expensive at the end of the year. But I think I got an introductory rate because Gabe can't get that right now. But it comes with a store, and it's really easy to use. I know how to use HTML. I can code, but man, I don't want to. Right? It's so much time. So Squarespace is super plug and play. It's amazing. I love it for that reason. So I would highly suggest it if you can afford it. Go for it. You know, don't do Wix or anything like that just because Wix is tacky. Anything that's got, you know, your thing .wix.com can be super tacky. Really, Tad? Why? Why 20? I think the next one up from mine right now, Gabe, what was it? Was it like 15? 13? 15. I don't remember now. But it's like the basic website plus commerce is like the next one up from mine, and I swear to God, I must have gotten in it like an introductory something or other, because it doesn't seem like my option's even there anymore. It is 20? Oh my God. What the fuck? Unless maybe I do the pay all at once thing, where it's like you pay for the entire year. I don't know what I do. I have no idea. Either way, I know I'm probably only paying 12. I don't know. Either way, I think it's kind of worth it. I think if it went up to 20, I'd probably still do it. Because it's so easy, and I just don't want to code anymore. There's so much that can go wrong. Right, Tad? Isn't that great? Oh. I was thinking maybe I could even add on Gabe's domain for another 12. If I'm in at 12, maybe it'll let me stay at 12 if I add another domain. I don't know, but I was thinking about doing that. Yeah. Oh my God, my Dropbox hates me. It's kind of a douchebag, though. I think I'm gonna give him a brown hat. Or no, maybe his hat should be... Okay, hold on. I probably should have done a color study of this first, but I don't know. It's not that I don't care enough. I shouldn't say that. It's that it's... I don't know. It takes away kind of the fun of it, I guess. I know this looks kind of sloppy right now, but it tightens up once I get the rendering in. Because I go in and I add shadows and highlights, and then I use pastels. I was actually binging James Gurney videos recently, and I was happy when he whipped out the Carbothellos. I was like, oh my God, James Gurney uses my pastel pencils. I didn't know that. I was very pleased. I thought that was neat. But it's like, that's how I feel like you can only get certain looks with things, you know? Like, he was adding it to gouache. I'm like, yeah, because, you know, or like even watercolor. It's like, you can't get certain things to look the way you want unless you add something like that. That's why mixed media is like my jam. It's like, I will do whatever I need to get a look I want, and I'll use like anything. Anything that won't destroy the piece itself, as long as I can get the effect I want. That's why these pieces are like marker and colored pencil, and then pastel pencil and gel pen. Like, I'm all over the place, but there is a method to the madness, funny enough. You have to have a process for it because certain mediums don't play well with others. So you kind of have to figure out when to put it in the process. I think that's actually the hardest thing about mixed media, is knowing when to add it in. Okay, I know I want him to be a brown mouse, but I don't want him to be that brown. So we're gonna probably make him this color. Because then we're using kind of the same colors throughout the whole piece and not adding in one that's like too much of an eyesore. I usually stay within the same color palette. Like, my marker set is very limited. For, well, as far as marker people are considered. The marker people I know are a little bit crazy. Like, they basically go hog wild and get all the markers. And it's like, I don't want to do that. Plus, I don't like to use markers like regular marker people do. I think I use them in a really weird way. I use them basically like flats. And then I go back in with other things. Which is a weird way of doing it, honestly. But it's how I do it. I hadn't for a really long time, Tad. I find that happens to me when I'm actually super enjoying myself. I kind of know when I'm working on something I'm not happy with or that's not too fun if I'm waiting to eat. If I'm like, man, when's lunch? It's like I'm not too into my project. So it's been a while. Usually when I'm working on my Patreon stuff, I lose track of time with that. I have a lot of fun on my Patreon. Doing my monthly Mythical Guardians really is my pride and joy every month. I enjoy it thoroughly. Because like this month, here's the little Yisty. So you get this little guy. He comes in a bottle. It's either a button or a magnet, depending. So you get this guy, you get a lore scroll, you get the Guardian gift, you get stickers, you get an extra bonus this month, which is a recipe that I found and adapted, which is actually really good. I made it today. I have to make it to make sure that it's good to pass to other people, because if it sucked and I gave it out, I wouldn't forgive myself. And then there's something else too, and I'm blanking on it. Yeah, I forgot. Oh, really? That's awesome, Jamie. I'm glad they even did that. When I was doing it, for some reason, markers were kind of looked down on. I know they're not archival. I'm well aware of that. But at the same time, you know, they can be used in, you know, for good, let's say. I gotta figure out what color I want this frog. I'm gonna probably give it a toad color. So I'm gonna introduce this green, which I think I could work in somewhere. And if not, it's still at least in the value spectrum here. So it's not too weird. I'm excited for, I think, April. I think April's the month everything should calm down. I should have limited things that I'm doing. Majority of the pet commissions should be done. And then the rest of the year should kind of be quiet for me, which I'm excited about. I need a quiet year. Things the past 3 years have been incredibly crazy. Like, beyond crazy. But I want to know, for you guys, what month are you looking forward to and why? I'm interested. I have so many things I want to do that I just haven't had time for, and I'm so excited to finally get the time. I'm gonna make so much cool shit! Well, usually people just use marker. Like, they use it, and they use other markers to blend it, and that's all they use. And maybe some pen. Typically, I remember people using marker and pen, but primarily they would just layer marker and marker and marker and different kinds, you know? Like, if you look at a lot of anime artists that use marker, that's what they're using. But like I said, it's not exactly archival. So they do fade over time if they're alcohol and not the water-based. All that kind of stuff. Water-based are fun, though, because they act like a multiply layer or a multiply brush in Photoshop. Because you can keep layering and it keeps getting darker and darker and darker and darker, where alcohol markers do not. So let's do this. I keep reading different articles about intermittent fasting that say it's good and some that say it's bad. So I just kind of do what I do, because if so many of them are saying opposite things, I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to do me though. Oh, yeah, the new Animal Crossing does come out next month. Who's all getting that? I never got on the Animal Crossing train. It looked cute, and Gabe tried to get me into it. I don't know, it just felt like, it was a little weird for me. Just because it felt like it wanted to be something like, you know, Sims or Harvest Moon or something, but I couldn't get into it. What kind of eyes do I want for this frog? Brown? Gold. Brown? Brown. Maybe not brown. Is it Pylon? That's good. Gabe, if you can even get me, like, time to play a game, you think I'm gonna play a game now? Oh. God, frogs have so many different color eyes. I almost want to do his eyes red, but he's got too much red going on, so I almost don't want to do that. I'll just do yellow. Kind of typical, but... Have you really? Well, Pylon, you're a guy, too. Losing weight for men is so much easier, and yeah, I'm gonna say that, because it is. It is so easy for guys to lose weight. For the most part. At least easier than women. Like, it's crazy for us to lose weight. It's so stupid. Especially after 30, gotta say. When I was trying to lose weight when I was 25, it's pretty easy. I could get to my goal weight in like 3 to 6 months. After 30? No. No. No chance. Sorry. Restart. Where's my 95? Do I want 95 or do I want 65? I mean, we basically eat from... I eat my first meal of the day at 2 p.m. The last meal of the day I usually eat at 8. So I think I might be doing that without even realizing it. The fasting thing. Oh, Wade! Yay, Wade! You guys, if you're not following Wade, go follow my buddy Wade. He's best. He really is. He's a great guy. Good art. Great art. Good guy. Better guy. Better art. Papa Wade. How was your stream, Wade? How'd you do? You do fun? You do have fun? Wade, I'll at least see you at Dragon Con, it sounded like. We didn't get into Gen Con this year. Dude, Gen Con was a rat race this year. Like, so many good people did not get in. It was crazy. I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, no one's really gotten in this year. But yeah, Dragon Con will be there. Per usual. Thank goodness, too, because I fucking love Dragon Con. Especially now that I finally found a quiet hotel to stay at. I'll be at C2E2 in a couple weeks, and then those are the only 2 cons so far this year. I don't want too many this year. Like I was saying, this year's like the creation year. I feel like when majority of your income is conventions, you have to make sure that you're taking a year at least every other or something to create new stuff. Unless you can actually balance it in your convention year. But if you're like us, man, we went hard the past couple of years to where we couldn't actually get any time to make new stuff. So it gets kind of embarrassing when you keep going to cons and you've got the same crap. So at some point you need to pump the brakes and actually get some other stuff done. So far this year, Gabe's made a book, I've made a book, and it's only February, and I was planning on 3 more by the end of the year at least. So, let's go! had much fun. Fun was had. That's good. You got into Gen Con? Wait, what? Really? Are you serious? Like, I'm not, like, Gen Con, not Dragon Con? Gen Con? Boo-boo! Oh my god! Congratulations! Yeah, so many of my friends did not get in. And I wonder, maybe they want new blood. Maybe that's it. A lot of my friends that didn't get in, they've been there before. And, I mean, you haven't tabled there yet, right? Like, this will be your first time? Well, the thing is, every year they change judges, and which is good and bad. But that means that the judges put their own bias, I guess, into the art that gets put in and the artists that get put in. So that's awesome, though. Oh, man. You have to have a lot of, like, D&D stuff. Like, that was my best con. I made so much money. Like, I'm not even gonna lie about that. I made a ton of money. It was really good. But yeah, that crowd is fantastic. The people are great. They're great to talk to. They're really polite. They're really into what they're into, and it's great. That's the best kind of crowd. And they were just wonderful. I mean, I know you've attended, but, like, actually tabling and talking to people was so good. So good. It's like Dragon Con Plus. I don't know. I loved it. I really hope I can get in again another year because that one year was so good. I'm gonna change the song again. I'm gonna go to that one song that we did that one time that was like in an attic and there's creaking and stuff, but it was like kind of mystical. Let's do that. I like that one. We'll tell you whatever you want, but there's a lot. What do you want to know? There's a medieval fair. Forest Day. Oh, that's going to be a lot of nature stuff. Artist Garrett. Oh, maybe it was this one. If you hear any ambient noises, it is not on my end. It is the song. So. Oh, the Gen Con secrets. I don't think there were any Gen Con secrets. It's just basic tabling stuff. But it's more just the people were so unbeatable. Like, so good. I thought it was basically a perfect con all around. The only thing I would say that kind of sucks is that a lot of the art, when I went, the year I went, was very similar with lots of moody, dark, digital pieces. They kind of all blended together when you'd walk down the aisle, but that was 2 years ago. So maybe, you know, like I said, they switch it up. So maybe it's not that this year, but it's like a lot of, obviously Magic the Gathering. Anybody who's got like tabletop experience in their portfolio or book covers or, you know, anything D&D related, they usually get it leg up. So I'm guessing maybe you had something like that? I don't know. Your opinion on hiring someone to attend a con for you versus being there on your own? I think it will always hurt that you're not there in person. But I do see when you get big enough to have a proxy. A lot of my friends now have proxies that go for them. However, a lot of cons have rules against having a proxy. I'd say majority of them don't allow it. But just like fan art, that doesn't stop people from actually doing it. So, you know, I think personally I would never have a proxy. I'm also never going to probably be doing exhibitor booths. I don't want a big booth. I like having my little humble table, you know. Plus, I think you get different demographics depending on if you've got a little artist alley table versus a big, you know, vendor exhibitor booth, like the big ones, the 10 by 10s or whatever. Plus, those are expensive. Depending on the con you get, I think at like New York, depending on what size you get, it's like 5 to 10K, even 20 if you get a big island. Like, oh, I don't want to spend that much. I'd rather spend like, you know, New York to get a table is about $500 in Artist Alley. So just a little like 6 to 8 foot table. I forget if they do 8. I think it's 8. Either way, it's like $500, and I know I can make that back. Whereas if I got like an exhibitor booth, I'd probably get it back, but I wouldn't be in the green very much. Which it's like, you know, I could make the same at the... Anyway. You too, Wade. Thank you. It's just flats, but thanks. I appreciate it, buddy. I'm excited to get to see you at Dragon Con, at least. Proud of you for getting in Gen Con. Good work. God, talking and thinking still isn't coming naturally to me. Never has. Woo! But yeah, I don't know. I would think, like, as an attendee, if you went to a con and you were hoping to see that artist because they said, you know, on their thing they'd be there and they're not, that would be a huge buzzkill, especially if you had gone to see them. Like, I wouldn't want that for anybody that follows me. You know, I'd want them to actually see me if, you know, if they're there for me for whatever reason. But yeah, I think that could be a bummer, and I wouldn't want somebody to feel a bummer. But yeah, that gets kind of tough depending on what the con is, and I guess, no, you know, I would probably never do it. Even if it was, you know, like, I know a lot of the time they get the proxies because, like, there's a con that weekend that they're going to be at. Like, let's say Emerald City is the same time as another con, right? And Emerald City gives them more, I guess, income, right? But there's another con that they do well at because they have a good fan base there. They'd probably send the proxy to the good fan base because, you know, it's dependable because, you know you'll make something there. And you pay the person, the proxy, to be there and everything. But, you know, you make the money at the one that needs your attention more. That sort of thing. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, like I said, it depends on the person, what kind of art you've got. Like, my art almost feels like you shouldn't be buying it from, like, this giant establishment. I feel like it's a cozy sort of thing. So even if, you know, I wanted to expand, I don't think I would. I don't know. And I feel like keeping a smaller table, in my mind, keeps me thinking about new things and the best things. It keeps me keeping my products and merch tight. Whereas I feel like if I had a bigger space, there's a lot more room for bringing stuff that's not really a great seller and is kind of in this gray area. Like, I feel like it would be a lot more messy. I feel like having the Artist Alley table makes me think more about things and make smart decisions about stuff and not just bring everything, you know? Bye, Pylon. Thanks for coming. So I can see where they're coming from, but I would probably never do it, I guess is my answer. Because it does just feel a little removed, a little bit cold. And I get a lot out of interacting with people that like my art. And really, that's kind of another reason I go, is so people can experience me. And I'm not saying that like hey, you're gonna miss me when I'm not here. No. It's more just that I feel like, you know, you're also a representation of your art, right? And your career as your art. So I feel like it's important that people experience you, you know? But as you get bigger, it can be tougher. The other thing is a good point to bring up, when you get to the point where you have a product that is more the product than you, then I think it's okay if the product ends up kind of making its own presence, if that makes sense. So, The best example I can think of is Pete Moorbacher with Angelarium. Okay? More people know about Angelarium than, it being Pete Moorbacher for the most part. So if he just has his Angelarium booth, he doesn't need to be there really because the Angelarium stuff is kind of selling itself. If he was still just Pete Moorbacher that was selling some Angelarium stuff, some other this, some of that, some of something else, and it was kind of a smattering, and it was all under his umbrella of his name, that's different. Then I feel like he needs to be there for that. But if it's Angelarium, that's its own business now. So he can work on his stuff on the side, like new endeavors, while that business kind of grows up. So as an independent artist, I feel it's really important to have two things going at least at all times. Something that's kind of the business and something that's you being still that artist that's just you in the paper, you're experimenting, you're being able to express yourself 100%, all that stuff. You need to keep that balance. So in my case, I've only been doing this probably for officially 4 years, tentatively 5-ish, not really, it is the end of 2015. So 4 years for sure. So in that 4 years, I built a little business, which is the Pet and Armor portraits, which, yeah, it's kind of cheesy, it's kind of niche, whatever, but it makes enough now to be its own thing. So that, I feel like, is kind of my business, where on the side, I'm still doing a bunch of stuff that's very me, like my stories. I'm working on my stories. I've got Grigor, I've got my art books. I've got, all that stuff. My Guardians, all those things. That's more me. But that other side took its own thing. So it's like we've got this analogy. We say, when you you have a little baby, right? It's your project baby. You raise it and send it off to college, right? And then it goes off on its own life, which that would be, Angelarium for him, right? It's doing its own thing now. It's making its own money. But while that's happening, you need to have another baby, right? And that way you'll never grow stagnant. You'll always have something to kind of keep yourself invested and moving on and growing and learning and blah, 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 blah. So it's important to have both, I think. Anyway, them's my 2 cents about that. Gold, no. We'll have that be white. That's okay. We'll make it gray. Which, the business side of it can be the hardest part when you're just starting off. You don't know what you want it to be, You don't know what you really want your business to be. You're still figuring out what kind of artist you are. Sometimes you don't even know what mediums you prefer. Like, when I started off, I had no idea. I didn't know I would end up with markers and pastels and stuff. Hell no. Are you kidding me? I didn't know anything. I actually didn't even have a style that felt like me when I started because I came from mobile games, and so I was very used to being a chameleon and, doing basically whatever they thought I needed to do. So I was a jack of all trades, and at the time I was pretty proud of it. But behind closed doors, it freaked me out because I didn't know anything about what I liked to do on my own. Which, when you come to terms with that, it's actually really fucking scary. So that took me probably at least a good year of digging to figure out. And that's why I try to tell people when we're on here, like, tips and tricks on how to figure out your art self quicker. Because that's kind of the important thing, is to figure it out as soon as possible, because, otherwise you're wasting some time. So you gotta fail a lot, you gotta try a lot, you gotta do a lot of things. Quickly, typically. I mean, if you gotta start making money soon. Depends on your position, though. A lot of people don't even need to do that as quick because they have, like, part-time jobs and stuff. But if for whatever reason you end up getting, kicked from your job or you finally take that leap to freelance, you need to kind of know that about you. Yeah, I'm gonna just make this gold. Fuck it. Then we'll have gold throughout. So some things I like to have in my pieces that kind of balance them in my mind is have each element have its own color palette, but also carry colors that are throughout the entire piece through them. So you'll see there's gold everywhere basically for the table and stuff. That's going to be the wood. So once I actually start shading this and using the pastels, I can tint it warmer or cooler. So this won't look the same as this, as that, and blah, 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 blah. Hard to tell right now, though. So he's got reds. He's got blues. He's got green for the most part. And then, you know, I bring this goldenrod throughout all of them. And then this yellow I've tried to bring through. And then there's this tan. So the hardest part I'm having right now is figuring out what colors to make the dice and the miniatures. And I don't want them to be distracting. You know, I want them to be present, but I don't want your eye necessarily to go to them. Because there is going to be text up here and text down here too. I'm going to be doing the treatments for them, but I don't even know what bullet journaling is. So many people have told me what bullet journaling is. Man, I still got nothing. So we have, our thing is whiteboards. I have next to me 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 on my own. Gabe has at least 3. And then we have a main one that's for non-work stuff. But a lot of the time I've got this little one. This is for immediate things. It's really tiny. I've got one a little bit bigger that's over here that's for kind of monthly stuff. Then I've got one that's for kind of ongoing things to do every week. That's more like errands mixed with business. And then I've got the biggest one I have is my commission board. And it's scary. It's huge. And it's got bunches and bunches of commissions and papers on it. And I get anxiety sometimes when I look at it because it's watching me. But, you know, whatever. I'm going to empty that out this year. You hear me? It's going to be over. Anyway. Yeah, I'm telling you, whiteboards, man. Oh, I love whiteboards. I was trying to figure out a cheaper way to make a whiteboard. Because I'm also kind of frugal in a cheap way sometimes. And somebody had told me that you could use like bathroom enclosure stuff and all this stuff. And I was like, eh. So I don't know. Goodwill, a lot of the time, will have old whiteboards people brought in, and they're in great shape. So if you don't want to pay like $30 for a whiteboard, like a big one, you can go to Goodwill and usually get them for like $5. It's awesome. It is judging me, man. I wish I could flip my camera to do it, but if I flip it, I'm never going to get it back to where it is. But yeah. Oh, see, so there are different types of people too. A lot of my other planning is done digitally in Google Drive. So I can take it on my iPad, my phone, my computer, all that junk. So Google Drive, wonderful. But I'm one of those people that when I'm making progress, I like to tangibly move stuff, which I feel like you don't always get if you're just writing things down or anything like that. So on this whiteboard, you know what? I can take a picture and just show you the picture. Let's do that. That way you won't see a lot of the detail of people's names either. Okay. Let's move that. Okay. Trying to get some info out. Alright, I don't know if you can see this. Okay, so this is my commission board, my big one. So there are ones on here that have stacks that have binder clips. That's a stack from a convention, typically. And then there are stacks here too. Those are reminders that I've had to send people. It's a mess. I know. It's bad. But I like to actually take the slips and move them to the next process. So I've got pencils here, colors here, ship it here. This area is for people who haven't gotten me their info yet. Each one of these is a month I know it's hard to see. It says March, July, August, September, November, December. So each one of those is a different month that I got them. So this year, then, this is due for March this year because I got them in March last year. So these are sometimes years old. There are a couple down here that I've got that are old. They're like from 2017 in some cases. And then there's a little bag over here that you can't really see that I take these and I put them in that bag when they're done. But I keep them. But I like actually moving stuff. Yeah, laminating paper. So I got a laminator when I started making the bookmarks. And I was like, oh my god, this is like dry erase. So I actually laminated a Post-it note. And I've got it somewhere on my desk. I laminated 2 Post-it notes. And I've yet to use them. I just can't figure out how. But it's like, you can laminate them, and then, yeah, you can use dry erase on them. And it took me till getting a laminator to realize that. So, Jamie, you're ahead of me on that. That was a good one. Okay, so let's do the dice the same color. Maybe green, so it's not, or blue, because he's blue. I think people usually have dice that they like, but yeah, I need white boards, like big white boards. And then, oh, this is good too. So we used to do a lot of shows, right? So we have these giant, they're 4 feet tall, these giant calendars. So this one was last year. Right here, it's got all of our cons that we did last year and any other art shows or places we needed to be, stuff like that. This is our year calendar, and then this is this year's, so it's not full yet. But you can see how like it gets crazy towards the end, but usually starts out kind of slow. So I get these on Amazon. They're like $20. And what's really nice about these is for planning and doing taxes, funny enough. So we can look back at this one once we do our taxes this year and say, okay, well, we had this con, this con, this con, this con. And then we can actually go and look up all the stuff we did for that convention. So that ends up being, Kristen, are you in here still? Just got your email. Oh, your sister told you about it? That's awesome. So, Kristen, it's always a year from purchase. That's the ETA I always give people. So, at the very safest, earliest for, the pet commissions, that's when you get it. However, after March, I've only got a couple to do. I could actually show you where you are on the board if you want. So, here, I'll just show you. I think it's funny. So on this huge board I have, right? Kristen, you are here in August. You're right there. So that's where I'm shooting for you. So if I get through all these up here, right, and then these 2 stacks are before you. See, it's a lot easier to tell how much work you have before, you get to somebody. And I get all these people emailing me constantly about where am I? Where am I? And I'm like, okay, I'll tell you, hold on. And I just look at the board. So the board is really helpful in a lot of ways. But yeah, if at any point you want to know if on a stream I say I'm doing really good on getting through them, you can ask me again and I'll give you an updated one. I can even tell you how many people are in front of you, if that helps, But yeah. Sorry, I thought it'd be easier just to answer you like that. Especially since now I've got the visual aid, I can actually say stuff. Let's make these brown. And Gabe's been working on mics. I know he sent him an email the other day, and he's waiting on that, but yeah, he's trying to get mics pretty well on the way before he starts the next issue he's got. Because once he starts another issue, it's basically gonna kill him. Kill his motivation on stuff. No, it's okay. There's no real bugging me at any point. Like, feel free to ask me anything. Nothing's usually off, out of bounds, whatever. I am an open book. I don't get offended easily. All that kind of stuff. Whatever you want to ask, go for it. Alright, I think we can actually start this now. I appreciate that, though. That's very sweet of you. So usually what I'll do then is go through and do all the metal next. Because typically the metal has a lot of spec highlights that I can do with the jelly roll. And when you're doing the mixed media thing like I was talking about, and when you use things is really important, this is what I'm talking about. So I have to actually do the jelly roll before I do the colored pencil and the pastel because, well, not so much the pastel. The colored pencil for sure. Because the colored pencil kind of fights with the jelly roll. You can't put jelly roll on top of colored pencil. So you have to go through and do this first. And then, you know, then it's easier to actually get the look you want. And I'll do flames and stuff in there. How can you even squeeze in those quick commissions? I really can't. But here's the problem. So that commission board, a lot of those commissions were a year ago, right? So I already made that money, and that money has already basically been spent, right? On rent, food, whatever. So I need to take little commissions now to eat now, especially since I haven't had a convention. And so we might run into a little bit of a problem in the middle of the year because I'm only doing 2 cons so far, and it's at the beginning and kind of the end of the year. So summer's going to be a little bit dry unless I can find some work in there too. So it's been a crazy balance, and what sucks is that it really affects kind of just my mood because there are things that I need to do now, and there are things that I need to do a month ago, and there are things I need to do tomorrow, and there are things that are due in a month, and it's like I'm trying to balance all these. That's why I needed all these whiteboards. I use all of them, you know? So I need to do the little commissions to eat now, basically, and to pay for stuff now. And then once I get another injection from a convention, it'll be a little bit easier, but at the same time, like, I feel like you need a credit card being an independent freelance con artist, con as in convention, because you most of the time cannot pay out of pocket for airlines, like flights and hotel rooms and all these things you'll need in a couple months. Like, right when we find out we're going to a convention, we immediately book the room, and if the flights are pretty cheap, we'll book them then, or we'll wait. But we have to do it with the credit card. And so a lot of the time when we do get another injection at a convention of income, then it goes towards retro paying all that stuff we had already bought. So it's really weird in comparison to, you know, when I had my regular job. It's backwards. It's really weird. It's like you get paid for the things you haven't done yet, and you have to pay for the things that you paid for months ago. It's a really crazy lifestyle. which is part of the reason it took me a really long time to acclimate to this lifestyle, because I had been doing, a career and all that stuff for so long, and doing the 9 to 5 and everything, that it was just so ingrained in me. And breaking myself of that has been a process. And I've finally gotten to a point where I can work efficiently in a schedule now, because I'm kind of a stickler for schedules, but it took a really long time for me to get used to it, and to get used to my own schedule and figuring out how I work best and all that. It's just been this huge learning curve, but I feel like it's finally paying off. It's just so slow, so slow. And even with Patreon in there, Patreon usually sucks a week out of that too, which is ridiculous. And I'm just finally this is my 14th month doing the monthly Mythical Guardians. And now I have basically 40 people I'm doing Guardians for. So I'm finally learning how to pick away at it while doing all my other stuff. Because what I was doing before is taking the week and just pumping it out, right? And I just write that week off. But now it's like over the course of the previous month. So in January, I was picking away at a lot of the stuff I'm doing now. But now I still have to package and ship it. So it can be kind of a thing. What's the deal with cheese? I don't know. I don't even know. Most of your customers patient if you tell them they have to wait a year. Absolutely. So that was the coolest thing that I found out. I got to a point where I started doing these commissions, the pet commissions, at conventions and having them done at the convention. So I would take the orders at the convention, either do them while I'm at my table, or do them in the hotel room at night, and then the people pick them up, pretty typical how most people do conventions at cons. But once I started getting more and more, I was like, okay, is it okay if I ship this to you, within the week? And people are like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. Because I also wanted to start scanning them, because when you're at a con, you can't exactly scan them or take really good pictures of them. So I started telling people, okay, is it okay if I, send it to you in a week? They're like, oh yeah, that's fine, take your time. Super understandable. And then I got to the point where it was like 2 weeks, and then a month, and eventually I wasn't even able to keep up with like a 2-month thing, and I was starting to freak out, and Gabe's like, just tell them a year. I was like, but it's not going to take like a year. He's like, then they'll be surprised. They'll be happy it didn't take a year. I was like, yeah. And luckily I was getting to the point with their quality where it felt like it's worth the wait. If I had done that when supply or demand wasn't too much, and God, I wish I had my other cup here. Okay. You know what? This is worth showing. So give me a second. I'm going to show you something. Behind the curtain. Okay, hold on. So really it was Gabe that kind of mentioned to me, just tell me here. I was like, I don't know. And it if I remember right, it was like pulling teeth to get me to do that, because I don't like doing that. So this was the first book, and this had ones from, does it even say in it? 2016, okay? So 2016, spring through winter of 2016. Okay, so these were the first ones I had done. The very first one I did was this guy. And I was at C2E2 2016, so that was like February, March 2016, and somebody had said, I see you do animals, could you draw our dog? And I was like, yeah. And his name was Cedar, but he was a corgi, and they're like, oh, we always thought it was funny to call him a Thorgy and make him like Thor. And I was like, sure. So this was how they started. This was the very first one. And then they kind of had no formula for a really long time. This was probably the first time I started playing with personality with them. But I was just kind of being super basic. This one, like, man. So these started off at like $60, right? And when I was doing them at the convention. And then they started getting a little bit better. And I still didn't want to make the full leap to being standing, because at the time I had a huge bias against furries. I've since kicked that after vending at a furry convention and finding out that people were amazing. A lot of the stigma surrounding that community is unmerited. So I didn't exactly want to do them standing yet. But eventually I made the leap into doing that, and I think this was one of the first ones, where it's like they could be sitting on their butt, you know, but they could also be standing. And then I got to the lizard and I was just like, I gotta do something. So then from there on, I think it started actually being, you know, standing on their legs and stuff. So these are when they finally started getting to what they are now, at least in terms of what it looks like, the kind of formula, because I started adding their favorite things, you know, funny, cute things, Easter eggs that the owner had, some Doctor Who stuff. But they started actually, you know, becoming better and better. And I got better at drawing animals because I wasn't used to. I think this was a pretty good breakthrough point for me for getting just expression and likeness down. Because in the beginning, there was some likeness, but it wasn't like them, you know? So you can see a few things here. But then, with the new book, which I'm pretty proud of how far they've come. This is the new book. There's a lot more to it now. And this book is, what, twice as thick? I think twice as thick. It's about 116 pages of drawings. It's got my process finally, because there's a process now, and you know, they've come a long way in their actual scenes now, and you know, there's a reason and a lot of stuff behind them. I do live paw readings at conventions now, where I ask people a set of questions about their pet, and I'm able to classify them on the spot, and it's a really fun thing for me to kind of do. It's also a really good selling point, you know. So there's a lot that goes into them now, and I think the price is merited. So now they're at $275 and up at a convention, and online they're starting at $300. And people are fine waiting a year. People are fine paying the price most of the time when they see it. So, you know, when they see that their pet can be portrayed in such a way, they get pretty excited. And I do really like what it does for people. Like, I think about quitting these sometimes, and I actually get sad because I've had so many people tell me how much they like them that it's just I can't fully ever not do it. Plus, I've gotten kind of known, I guess, for doing it. But, you know. So, a lot of it depends on their personality. I really have the owner tell me everything. There are little tiny things in these pieces that, you know, are very much them, and I make sure to add them. And a lot of the time they'll look like random things to regular people, but the owners totally get it. And if you own pets, you know how that is, you know. But I think they've come a long way from it, so I don't know. I'm proud of that. So that's kind of been my business that I sent off to college scenario. But yeah, to answer your question fully, Serenity, yes, they're patient waiting a year. And right now I'm in a position where it's gone over a year for a few of them. And that's because holidays hit me, and holidays are usually like people scrambling to buy a portrait, and they pay the fast fee, which is like an extra $75 to $100 around Christmas. And then they'll have it by Christmas. So that just throws a wrench in my entire queue that I've had since forever, right? So everybody gets put on hold for those people. That sets back the other people. But it is a good time to make money because winter is usually super dry in terms of income. So I kind of have to do it, even though it's kind of not fair. But yeah, they're fine waiting a year, and then even after a year, people are really gracious. And a lot of the times, if I go over a year, I supplement with things. So it's like, I'm sorry to inform you that I'm, running a bit behind on these. I don't want to rush it. I want it to maintain its quality. So in the meantime, can I offer you a couple prints and blah, 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 blah. So I offer people prints, and they're usually fine with it, or they're like, yeah, don't worry about the prints. Just get it when you can. It's been really nice. The only time it gets kind of weird is if somebody thinks I'm ripping them off, which is really seldom. And if they need it for an occasion. And for those people, I rearrange everything and bust my ass to get them what they need for their occasion. I actually got 2 videos last week, I think, of pet portraits that were being opened as gifts. And oh my god, people were bawling, and it makes me feel so good. And I know it's silly because it's pet portraits, and you tell people, I do pet portraits. But when they're like this, I feel like it's different. Like if it's just a bust shot of their head or something, okay, that's still sweet and that's still good. But when it's so them that it's just like if they've passed, it hits them all over again with all their little favorite things and, their personalities exuding through it and all that stuff. Like, I feel like I'm actually doing something for someone. And it's not just kind of a disposable, throwaway one-time thing, It's not like a caricature exactly. It's a little bit more than that. It's like if they had their own story. It's part of their storybook, Anyway, that's what it's become at least. So, there's that. Where do I get my inspiration for their clothing? Everywhere. Sometimes it depends on my mood, honestly. Other times, if we've talked about it and either the animal themselves has some sort of influence on where they're from, or maybe a couple times the owner has been really into like Asian culture or something, so I work in a kimono or a samurai thing, depending on if they're a princess or a fighter. But a lot of the time I'll take kind of, I guess, traditional tropes and build on them. So like Bard, in this case, right? These are kind of pretty vanilla versions of these tropes, right? A Bard, puffy sleeves, floppy hat, feather, a lute. Something at like first glance, okay, that's that thing, right? Fighter, sword, chainmail, that's going to be chainmail. Mage, fire, book, so there's all these elements that kind of work into what they are. But if this were a pet portrait, let's say, I would either try to work in like their toys, or if they have a print that's on either their collar or their favorite bandana or something, I try to work that in. Like there are all these different influences that work their way in, and not one of them is the same. I've made it kind of a big part of this that they're not cookie cutter. I don't just stamp them out as the same formula and whatever, and that's kind of also why it takes a lot of time. These can take 8 to 12 hours, which is basically when I tap out on art. If it's for me, I will not spend that much time on something. But since it's for someone else, and I've got this nice formula down of how I do it, it's really nice that I can kind of slot all this creativity into guidelines. Because sometimes you get the most creative when you have guidelines. Not when you have freedom, but when you have boundaries that you have to kind of work with or around. It can be really good. So regarding the clothing and everything, I just try to take what they say. Some people write a sentence about their pet. Some people have given me like pages and pages and pages, and it's awesome because that's a lot to work with. The only problem is when they do that, there's no priority of what is more them. It's just like, oh, and they did this one time, and they did this, and they did this, and they did this. And those are all wonderful scenes that I could potentially work in, but regarding their personality and who they are, I usually have to write back, okay, so if they could do this one thing forever, what would they do? Or if, given this circumstance, what would they do? Like, I dig into, what the owner thinks of them and try to use that. Hi, Shadow Room. So I really do take a lot into, consideration. Even, I hate to say it, but I even weigh it against stuff I've done lately. So if I did somebody royal recently, I'll try really hard to not do much of anything like that. And that pushes me to go look for other references and resources. And I think that's been a really good thing. But also I hate that I have to hold one up against another one in that. But I mean, that's art, I guess, really. Yeah, and you know what, Serenity? I would rather, and I think a lot of other people would rather have more to work with than less. And if I do really want something pointed, I'll poke them for it. I'll prompt them. But otherwise, there's this one lady I've got recently. It's pulling teeth. Like, every time she's like, I don't know. I guess he likes that, but I don't know. He kind of just lazes around. And it's like, either they don't want to get into it, or they just really don't know the pet, or the pet is just that lame. So sometimes I'll take a really lame pet and make him extra cool, because I'm like, all right, well, I've got 2 things to work with here, and they're super vague. So then I'm like, all right, here's my thought for a composition. I'm going to throw this in, I'm going to throw that in. Sometimes I throw in a cat trope or something, and I work around that and try to make it something fun for me to work on, but something also cool. So it's those ones you'll see if I put them up. They're usually a little bit more outlandish. Like, a good example. There's a cat in here. This is a prime example. I remember this one like it was yesterday. I remember all these, funny enough. This cat, they described like nothing. Just that the cat really liked Nip. They were really timid. They didn't do too much. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go a little crazy. And I had done a series of characters probably a year before this that I called my bottle merchants. And they each had a different bottle that they would carry around on their back. And I still might continue doing this because it was so much fun. And this is where I got better at drawing bottles. But I was like, you know what, I'm in this bottle thing right now still. So I'm just going to propose this. And she loved it, and I did it, and she loved it. So, a lot of the time someone will look through this and be like, okay, I see what you're doing here. Yeah, I want one. And then they get one, and then I just tell them what I want to do, and they're like, yeah, go. It's great. Honestly, it's a really good job because I'm still drawing animals, I'm still practicing animals, and I get to do what I want almost all the time. I would say 95% of the time I get to do what I want. People give me money and they trust me, and I get to do what I want. It's kind of a perfect job. So I'd almost never want to stop doing them, or at least stop offering them, because I love it too much. It's just when it gets this heavy, that's when it gets hard. When I've got so many to do, that's when it starts being a little bit more scary than fun. I still never regret it. I don't regret much of anything, really, but that gets difficult, and that's when the stress starts coming on. But like I said, I don't think I would stop it, though, because I do really enjoy it. Yeah, if you can get to the point, but I think a lot of the problem with this is that they don't really know what point they got to get to. Because I ask a couple questions in the flyer. I'm also thinking about making like an actual like survey they take online to make it even easier. Anyway, that's still in thought. So they don't have to write a ton of stuff. But for the most part, people can be pretty concise. The people that keep splurging are the ones that want to. I'm the one person in your life who wants to hear every single thing about your pet. And usually people light up when I say that. And I love that. That's so cute. I don't know. They get so excited. They're like, oh, I can tell you all about Poopsie. I'm like, yeah, that's my job. And that's what I like to do. Do it. The more I know, the better. And, don't feel bad about that. But in general, Serenity, depending on who you're talking to, yeah, I would say that could be weird, I guess. I mean, if it's not me and, you're gushing about your pet to someone, they might not care. I mean, we do that all the time about our pets. I feel like it's kind of the same at the vet, if you take your pets to the vet. Sometimes you get asked about them, but, other times it's like those people probably hear about pets all the time. At least I have, a break after cons and all that, and I prep myself for a convention to hear all of this. I also get people that cry at my convention table, which I'm almost positive no one else gets. I mean, unless, it's or it was Stan Lee or something, and they made, a total impression on someone's life. But I've actually started bringing tissues to my table because I get people actually crying, and I've got really good at consoling people quickly. Quick tip, if you're trying to get somebody to stop crying, get them based more on something scientific to talk about. So immediately if somebody starts tearing up, I switch from, what was their favorite things to, how, when did you get them, what year, or, anything that had to do with numbers or something they had to think about a date, that wasn't too emotional. Stuff like that, like when was their birthday, something, where they have to actually think, then they stop crying, typically, which I don't do for me, I do for them, because, there's this one guy at Gen Con he just started bawling, and I could tell he was super embarrassed, and so I was trying to get him, I was consoling him while pulling him back and trying to get him, over, and eventually I did, but that poor guy, he loved his pup. So it can be a whole thing. This is the weirdest job I think I can think of in terms of regarding art, I guess. At least in the convention sphere. I know a lot of my friends don't have to deal with this sort of thing. Well, yeah, and I would never want to bore people either. You can usually tell. I feel like if you're telling people about your pet and they're like, oh, cool, oh, that's cute, yeah. But at the convention, I usually, I'm really receptive to it. And I gotta be. But I also like hearing about it. I have this thing where generally I love hearing people talk about things they're excited about or passionate about. And it gets me revved up. So it just kind of goes back and forth and typically ricochets. And I really like that. I think that's a good way to approach life and people that you just met. I feel like that's really helped me get accustomed to conventions overall, is find something someone enjoys and talk to them about it. Because usually that's the time where people are the most themselves, if they're talking about things they like. And, you just listen. Listening is so important, especially when you meet someone new. So, I don't know, instead of being one of those people that pitches at my table, I usually get them started on a topic and just listen. And we can do pretty good, I learn a lot about them, and usually the next year or something, I've gotten really good at remembering people. And the next year or whatever, I can actually call back to that and be like, hey, when you were here last, you were talking about this. How's that going? But that was acquired after I feel like I needed to learn it, that skill. So, if I go back to me being in a cubicle thinking, me now, talking to me then, I think I learned it because I had to. Anyway, now who's boring who, huh? That's something I learned about Twitch, too. If people are here, they're here to see what I'm doing and to listen to me. So, I'm gonna say my piece. If you don't like it, you can go. I get it. It's cool. But that's the whole point of that, Because I used to apologize, for my opinion on my own stream, and then I'm like, no, you know what? You're here. I won't be a jerk, but I will say my opinion and my advice. And if you don't want it, you can go. It's cool. Because people are gonna take it or leave it anyway. I guess I've stopped being timid about stuff, which I feel like is good. Even though there's a lot more room for error, I feel like it's still good. That's true. That's a good point, Serenity. And especially you, who's been here forever. You're here more than Nightshade now, and I think you guys were the beginners. Like, you were here from the beginning. So, I think you outlasted everyone, Serenity. You're here more than, I think, Sniggle, too. You are the all-star. Okay, so now I'm starting to actually go through and render out stuff. So like I said, I use the markers as flats, and then I go back through and I shade. What's gonna be really misleading right away is that I shade with white, and I tell people don't shade with white or black. Learned that from James Gurney and Gabe. Don't shade with white or black. But as you can see here, I've got lots of white. That won't be white at the end, because what's going to happen is I'm going to tint that white to be a color with pastel pencils. So I know it looks like it's white, but it's not. And all these dark areas are actually brown. It's not black. And I'll even tint these too. Like a lot of the red I end up usually tinting to be like the shadows are either purpley red or more of a warm red, like an orangey dark orange. So this is just kind of getting to the middle point of the piece. We're not even there yet. Not even there. Oh, that's true. I remember that. So you've been here even longer than previously thought, Serenity. That's crazy. How did you find us? Did you find me first, or did you find Gabe first? What was really weird is I remember one of the first streams we got hosted by Adobe. And I remember thinking, oh my god, this is Twitch? This is insane. And there were like 150 people watching or something. And it was ridiculous. And this was like 2016, somewhere in there, I think. Maybe it was 2017. Actually, it's probably 2017. But I was like, oh my god, is this what it is? And I had just had... Little did I know that was a very rare thing, and it was like just so random. Because Adobe, I don't even know, has a channel anymore? I don't know, because we had friends that were like sponsored by them, and they'd actually take over the channel for certain slots and all that. And yeah, so that used to happen. That doesn't happen anymore, from what I understand. And like, Twitch has just kind of fallen since then. I feel it's not the same as it was. But even so, I guess it's just weird. I don't know. This whole Twitch ride has been strange. I am gonna at some point probably move over to YouTube, because I'd rather edit my stuff if possible. It's just easier. But I think you can't ever beat live stuff either. So I would never fully stop doing streaming, whether it be on IG or maybe YouTube Live or even here. It's just there's no community here for it anymore. I mean, there barely was to start with. I mean, it's supposed to be gamers. So the fact there are creatives here at all, and I'm kind of sad that Twitch never kind of leaned into the creative side, because there are a lot of us. There's people that cook, there's people that sculpt, there's people that do makeup, cosplay. I mean, you'd think they'd even have tried to lean into the cosplay side of things, because that actually, you know, lots of people watch that. But, I mean, as far as I can tell, they never really did that, and it's just always been the gaming side. So it's really too bad, because there is a lot of skill that's here on Twitch, and, you know, gaming aside, there's a lot more that can be had, but, you know. Oh, that's right, because it's him. Yeah, he was doing Google Hangouts, I remember that too. Yeah, I was drawing his ox bow, which was so on theme for me. I kind of feel like a jerk for doing it, but oh well. He had an animal and no one claimed it, so I went for it. Oh yeah, he's still been working on swordplay since then, hasn't he? He's been working on that since I met him. It's crazy. I hope he can actually write it soon. That'd be cool. I know he's been kind of writing character things, but the actual story. Jevin, what's up? Thanks for joining. That's the other thing. Follows seem to be very few and far between than what they used to be. I don't know if that's algorithms or what now, but Gabe and I both agree that there used to be follows like every 10 minutes at least, and now it's like stream for 4 hours, maybe you get 2, you know? Like it's been weird. So the chainmail is a little tedious. Just a bit. But you'll see in a minute how I kind of turn that into being what it is. If I was doing it like how it really is, which would be a waste of time and too much detail. Just remember, because a piece is detailed does not necessarily mean it's a good piece. A good piece is somebody that knows how to dial their detail to lead the eye, you know? So, it's kind of crappy when somebody will give somebody praise on a piece just because it's super detailed. That doesn't exactly mean it's a good, like, well thought out piece, or that they know what they're doing. You have to know how to kind of lead the eye through detail and through lack of detail. So I know this looks like detailed, but it's really not, and it'll be pushed back too with values once I'm done. But yeah. So if I was doing real chainmail here, it would be a lot more intricate. This is going to give the effect of chainmail without doing that super uber realism that would steal your eye straight to it. And I don't want that. You know, I don't want it to stick out. I want it to be integrated, and I want it to be a part of the piece. But since it could potentially be the most detailed thing on the page, you have to be careful with that. You know, that's a fine balance. Right? Yeah, Serenity. Thank God you're here, because you can actually, like, attest to the fact that there were times, like, when that stuff happened. You know? I know it looks like it's crazy with the jar the way it is right now, but it's only because I don't empty that jar. It's crazy. I think I've only got you and Nightshade and Sniggle. Maybe one other person as a Twitch sub. But I think it's all Twitch Prime anyway. But, yeah, there was a time, man. It was crazy. It's like, I wonder if the golden age of Twitch is over. It's hard to tell if we should leave, move on, what. That's why we only stream once a week, you know? And Gabe thinks about, you know, doing sculpts on Twitch instead. It's like, what do we do? You know? The good and bad thing about streaming is there's no rules, but, you know, or no best practices, but, you know, that's still hard. It's like trying to make something go viral. It's like there are kind of things that could help it, but there's no for sure way to make something do that, you know? The channel points are new, actually. That's like a loyalty program that Twitch started. There used to be a third-party plugin that was called Revlo, is R-E-V-L-O, and that was a loyalty points program that your points are given to you based upon how much you're watching someone. And that's how Twitch is doing it, and that's how Revlo used to do it. On Revlo, we actually used to have prizes. So if you got up to a certain amount of minutes of watching us, you could even get a commission and stuff. It was crazy. And then we had one friend who would come in. They had a fun little thing where you could gamble your points to get more points potentially. And she would just come in and watch and screw around with us and just get points so she could gamble. And she was in the chat all the time just gambling. And it was funny. It was just more funny than anything. But eventually Revlo went away. And I don't remember if Streamlabs bought them or if they just went away. But either way, Twitch finally now has implemented channel points, but it's in this really weird way where it doesn't really do anything for us, all of us here. It's mainly for like big streamers who have their chat is constantly scrolling and stuff. So there's like one that calls out your chat and it like highlights you and what you say. I don't know, there's a lot of weird ones. Random sub emote, highlight my message is the one I was talking about. Send a message in sub only. Like the sub only thing too, sub only chat for me doesn't make any sense. So, I don't know. Talk in the beginning until people start coming in. Yeah, I think that was when they were at like 2 p.m. over here, Serenity. Because I think at first we were kind of copying Tim's method. Because his fan base is primarily European. So he's, you know, him streaming at 2, he mainly got European people. I think the only reason you stuck around is because you're a night owl over there. So, you know, however late it is right now for you. But, yeah, like I remember we had a stream schedule up on the board in Von House, and we would say like, you know, who's doing what day at what time and stuff, and there was a time all of us were almost streaming, you know, every day. And I remember Gabe and I, when we started in Serenity, you probably remember this, we were streaming together 6 times a week. He had 3 days and I had 3 days, and there's only one day we didn't stream, and we were doing really well. And sometimes I think, well, if we were streaming that much again, would we be doing well again? And I'm like, probably not. The whole atmosphere of Twitch has seemed to change. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know if it's us, what, but it's just the whole feel has just shifted. But yeah, there was a time it was really lively and fun. At least the, you know, the people that used to show up for like the New Year's Eve stream, that was really touching. A lot of old watchers came in, and I love seeing them. It's nice. But I know everybody's got their things and people are busy, but I feel like we made a lot of good connections on Twitch. It's just, I don't know, people come and go. There are people that I even had as mentees when I was doing my mentorships here. And they just kind of drifted away. They stopped like emailing me and everything, they just disappeared. It's weird that people can just disappear. It's really crazy. Seven plus. I always forget 7 plus. Oh. Oh, did I just... Oh, I might have gotten stuff on my face. Yeah, I always wonder what happened to them. Like, I worry. I worry about a lot of the people that were regulars that just disappear. Yeah, there were a lot of people that vanished from a lot of things. It's really weird. You know, I still think about them. I still miss them. I don't know. It's weird when I get in that mindset, too, of missing internet people, because then I think back to even, like, when I started being on the internet, when I was even 11 or 12, and thinking of the people that were my first internet friends and stuff, and, like, where are they? What happened to them? It's really weird. The internet's weird. People can just disappear forever. Yeah, I wonder about that too. I feel like a lot of people, they want to do art and they just don't make the time for it, or they really give it one giant go, and if that doesn't work, they just quit. At least that's what it seemed like with a couple of the ones that I had as mentees. It's like they couldn't either make it work with their schedule, or they felt like it was too hinged on their mood. And so it's like, well, I don't feel like doing it. It's like, okay. You know, art is only, I feel like it's like only about how you feel doing it when you're finally doing it. You know? Like, yeah, you can be inspired to do stuff, and that's good. I feel like that's a bonus. But if you like to do art, you're going to be doing it anyway, and then if you kind of get in the mood for it, then that's even better. It's like you got a buff or something, you know? And that's what I'm talking about, Serenity. Yeah, you like doing it, and, you know, you're here and you commit to it. Funny enough, one of the things that Tim had said really early on in our friendship, before things started to kind of die, I guess, he had really gone by this motto of every day is a rededication, and I think he had it like on all of his social media and stuff, and it was a really good quote, and I agree with it like wholeheartedly. Hiya, Scorn. Because it's true, like every day you wake up, you know, try again. Don't let the previous day's failures or whatever you see them as influence your future. You know, try to pick up and go again, because what choice do you have? You know, are you really gonna give up? Are you really gonna just kind of let that go? You know, and I mean, if you don't like something enough, obviously get rid of it. But if it's something that you know, you really want to try at and all that, keep trying. Like, there's no reason to give up. And I think other people don't realize, too, that you can have a successful side hobby. It doesn't have to be your main thing. Like, you don't have to be a full-time artist. You may want to be, but you know what? I bet you wouldn't even probably like it if you got there. You know, a lot of the time, a lot of the people I know, they wouldn't like it. You know? It's too much work, too little reward, all that stuff. So, I mean, if you've just got a job and it's your side thing, there is nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. You can still learn a lot from it. You can still gain a lot from it. There's no shame there. If you're a weekend warrior, there's no shame in that either. You're just going to end up getting there a little bit potentially later, and that's fine. Like, time is irrelevant for the most part. Depending on what you want to do, it's going to change, but the time you get somewhere versus when someone else gets somewhere, who cares? You go at your pace. You do things at your speed. You'll get there when you get there. You can always speed it up, sure, but that's all up to you. Hi, Zambies. Yes and no. Honestly, I've tried to talk to them a few times, and it just kind of, like, the conversations just kind of putter out, or there is no conversation. It's just like a high and a high. And then, we don't really party or anything, and they like to do parties, and they live far away now, and it just doesn't fit our schedule. So, even if you have, interests and all that with some people, sometimes your schedules don't work out and all that stuff. So, and I think we're all into different things too. I went to live there out of necessity, first and foremost, and it took me a while to realize that if there was a friendship there, that it was probably supplemental, like secondary, So, they were great people to live with. They were very nice. But as far as, like, a deep friendship or anything, I don't think it happened. And I think for a while I thought there was, but I don't think there was. Like, if there was, I feel like it would still be there. But, we're at least all cordial with each other. We say hi at cons when we see each other. There's nothing wrong, it's just not tight. And from the sound of it, everybody who lived at Von House is now gone, and it's basically just Tim and Josh. Like, he's moved out, Tyler moved out a couple months ago, Sean moved out a long time ago, apparently. And I mean, the people I had lived there with were gone while I was still living there, so for a while it was just kind of a halfway home for a lot of us that were in between stages in our lives. And Tim just liked company, I think. So it worked out for everybody. It was a good symbiotic thing. But I mean, I've been a kind of a victim in my own head of thinking I have, like, friendships where I don't. I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to that. So, I have to realize that first and foremost that was a place to live, And if anything else was there, then it was lucky or, extra. But that was basically just a roommate situation. And I think I started realizing that once we had tabled at Spectrum and once we had all gone to Spectrum, I was like, man, I do not belong here. Spectrum is not for me. Like, I respect everybody that is an artist in Spectrum, but it is very much a particular style, a particular type of art and artist, and I don't fit that mold. And I think during that time I learned that, you're a particular artist. You're who you are as an artist. And you have to kind of accept that. Like, I don't like spending 20, 30 hours on a piece. That is not me. I'd rather pump out more ideas, and I've always been more of a storyteller. So I think first and foremost, I'm a storyteller. Secondly, an illustrator. Because I'm pretty good at thinking of stories on the fly. And ideas like that, and concepts, and all those things. That's why I kind of shined at being a game artist. I thought of plots and characters and all these things, and I don't know, it just made sense. Honestly, Serenity, just Gabe. Gabe and, now Alex and you. There are a couple people in our community that's from Twitch that I do talk to, or my my internet Instagram friends that I've made. But in real life, no. Gabe is like the only person I talk to, really. And what's weird is, and I guess appropriate for this time, is Gabe and I are old enough now where people our age have kids and have families, so they don't actually talk to other people either. You know, but their excuse is that they have kids and families. Ours is that we're workaholics, you know, and we've got our dogs and whatever, but, you know, Gabe's gonna be 40 this year. 40. So, you know, you could have, you know, if you had a kid at 20, you'd have like a 20-year-old kid, you know? And when people get to the point they're having kids and having families, you know, friendships take a back seat anyway. That's just what happens. So the fact that we don't really have that is fine with us. We're okay with that. You know, I feel like we have the friendships when they're there, like when we go to cons and stuff, we've got it. But we're also not the type to seek things out. You know, we really enjoy our company alone. Like, he can be alone and have a great time. I can be alone, have a great time. We have a great time together. Like, we're a really good team and really good alone, too. And I think that's why it works so well, you know? But I don't crave people. You know, I don't crave hanging out with people. I don't, you know, I worry once in a while if I don't hear from someone, but I don't know, it's not like I don't crave people. I read a comic last night, funny enough, a webcomic, where she was, like, there's a guy and a girl, and funny enough, they look like me and Gabe. Gabe does go see more friends than I do. He has more friends here in Illinois. I'm from Minnesota. I don't know anybody here, really, except his friends. But he goes and hangs out with his friends sometimes. And, you know, this comic was funny because it was like, he was going out and he said to her, like, aren't you going to be lonely? And she's like, no. He's like, well, I don't want to leave you alone. You don't have any company. And she's like, I'm my best company. And I was like, oh, I totally feel that. Like, I have so much fun when I'm with myself. Like, the things I think of and the places I go, and I'm just completely comfortable with it. I don't get lonely anymore. I think maybe in my 20s I did, but since I've hit 30, man, some stuff is just solidified in me. I've lit my own fire, and I can keep myself warm, you know? So I don't need anybody, but there are people I guess I want. But it's like what time allows, you know? Yeah, Serenity, me too. And I don't even know, like, I think I'm learning, thanks to Alex, I'm learning what an actual friend is. Because I've never had good friendships either, versus people I know. Like, and Gabe usually tries to teach me by saying, well, who would you call if you had car trouble and I wasn't available? I'm like, oh, because I can't call my parents, my family, nothing. Got none of that. I would probably call his family first, unless I knew Alex was around, then I'd call Alex. But, you know, it's one of those things, like, that's a good point. You know, who would you call if it wasn't family? And it's, before this year, it wouldn't have been anyone, really. Like, I don't expect anyone to drive 3 hours for me, and no one's around here, so it's weird. Right? Yeah, Kristen and I have had this conversation many times, especially when we were hanging out at FairyCon. We were tabling together, and we were talking about this a lot, too. I remember that it's just our age, our situations, you can't, when you get to this point, getting a friendship is like dating. You have to, like, touch and go, see how it feels, find out what their interests are, what their schedules are like, does it line up, are you compatible, can you spend time with this person? Like, friendships become like dating, and it's crazy. So you have to date friends, to find out. To not need company. Yeah. And serenity, I think you're kind of like me with that. It's just, we don't really need it, but it's like maybe once in a while it'd be fun. There are times I get really nostalgic for maybe like hangouts that I had in high school that were really fun, but I know I could never replicate that again. You know, just hanging out and drawing, watching stupid TV or cartoons or something. Like, I get that with Gabe. But I've never had a really good lady friend. And every lady friend I've had has ended up hurting me somehow, so I just kind of... I've always been get better with guy friends, especially with my gaming past. It just made more sense. And I was never into girl stuff like manicures or the mall, things like that. So a lot of the time, the women I knew, they did that, and I wasn't into that. And they weren't into what I was into, and the closest I got, she ended up being crazy, and like actually legitimately crazy, not just writing it off as she was crazy, but she was actually crazy. And so I had to cut that short. But yeah. Ghostbusters. True that, Alex. Always. Agreed, Serenity. That was what I liked best, is, you know, somebody that you could just stay silent with and kind of just know what's going on and all that. But I haven't had that for a really long time. Probably since high school. Even college. Even being in an art school, I did not have that. A lot of the friendships I've had in the past have been out of convenience. Like, the people were around, we didn't hate each other, so we hung out. That sort of thing. I've never actually had, like, what I'd consider maybe a catered friendship, where it's like an organic, you know, I feel like I end up dating those. You know? But yeah, it's been an ongoing battle even into my 30s. I've never had a positive experience with any of that, so I don't even know what a friendship is supposed to be or even how to act. So I can be kind of awkward and weird, and especially when my time starts getting taken away, I get a little like, oh man, I'm a bad friend. But then I have to tell myself I'm not a bad friend. I gotta get this stuff done. You know, it doesn't make me a bad person. It just makes me busy. So, and I never like using the term, you know, I'm too busy to do anything. But it's true, you know, because I know a lot of people who use it as an excuse, but they're not actually busy. I didn't ever want to be that guy. So at least I know I can prove it if I'm ever called out, because I am that fucking busy. I knew some people, though, that would be like, no, man, I'm busy, you know, I'm too, what? And then they'd just play video games or, like, lump around or something. It's like, what are you doing, man? Time-lapse? Yeah, I've got a couple time-lapses. They're kind of here and there through my Instagram and my YouTube. It's harder to do time lapses of like client work like this, and especially since I'm somebody to keep turning the paper. When you have a time lapse of somebody that keeps turning paper, it looks just like they're just moving it constantly. So unfortunately, my process never really lends itself to time lapses. But yeah, I've been wanting to dig back into YouTube and put time lapses up of my stuff, and I have this whole back of my mind planned of doing these little tutorial videos of little things I've got in my head. So I'd like to do those. And that was on the back burner for this year, so we'll see how that goes. Especially now that I don't have to pour a ton into Twitch as much anymore. I had this whole idea I was going to animate a bunch of things for Twitch if, you know, it got lucrative and all that stuff, and that's since passed. But I was actually going to animate a whole intro, like an intro. I have an animation in my intro right now, but it's not near what I was thinking of doing. And if I ever get some free time, maybe I'll do that. I would love to solely work from my Patreon. If I could figure out how to monetize animating, I would love to do that too, but I like what I'm using my Patreon for right now as well. So overall, I'm really happy. I'm just extremely busy. So we'll see what this year does, though. I have things that I want to do this year, but we'll see what it lets me do. It's true, Zambies, but I was thinking like that for a while, and I feel like that actually depends a lot on the friends. Because if you say that to somebody who wouldn't talk to you anyway, then it doesn't add up. So I had a friend that we had said that, and I was like, yeah, it's totally cool, whatever. But whenever I tried to talk to them or something, or, you know, I tried to reach out, they never. So I was like, oh, so this isn't a friendship. Okay. Never mind. You know? Anyway. Oh, Kristen. Well, hey, what about your girls? Couldn't you raise them as your sewing buddies, too? Yeah, in Serenity, I'm there with you. And I feel like after an amount of time, you will stop being invited. And I mean, I've gotten there too, where it's just like you stop being invited, and it's okay. You know, I feel like that's just kind of the nature of things because, you know, I feel like there are some people maybe who are meant for more in-depth friendships and other people who aren't. And maybe we're just not, you know, and maybe that's okay because you and I have said it, we prefer ourselves, right? I mean, maybe we answered our own thing now. Yeah, in Shadow Room, I've put up things I've done on Procreate too. Here. I recently did one. It was like a little mouse drinking coffee. Like I basically just got Procreate probably a month ago. But yeah, once I realized that it does do automatic, time lapses, I was like, well, that's cool. Problem is you gotta learn how to use it first to do a proper time lapse, because a lot of the people who put up Procreate time lapses have already been using Procreate a lot. They're not learning to use it, you know. So for me, it's like, I mean, this was the one, let's see, I had done, see, and I still don't even know where stuff is that it? Yeah. Okay, so this was me, like, the first time playing with this program. I was figuring out brushes and stuff, and, you know, I still don't know what I like in it or what I prefer, because you have to usually use something a lot to figure out what you would keep going back to, right? So, there's a few things. I mean, I'm not primarily digital anyway, but... And then I did this. I found out they had animation, so... Oh my god. Hello? Yeah. So then I started doing that, because I'm actually an animator. I went to school for it, so I've got that. So yeah, I've been poking around with it, but I never get free time to actually do this. I did this recently. Me and a porcupine. I'm going to use that for a con image. So I've usually been using it for my Patreon, like thumbnails and things like that. Yeah, like I haven't kind of do very much on it at all. Like I get maybe an hour of freedom a night, and what I've been doing with that is actually inking a comic in Clip Studio on here, because I can do that in my, my bedroom, in my bed. So I take an hour a night to pluck at that. But, yeah, it's kind of hard. Yeah, I've done a hedgehog. I actually did a hedgehog last week. Funny you should say that. It was actually... The hedgehog ended up being a bard, too. It was for someone's... they have two characters. One was an otter, and one was a hedgehog. And... I'll bring that up. Yeah, So there you go. There's the hedgehog. It's on the right. And the otter's on the left. So the hedgehog, he's plump, but I didn't want him to be too ill-dressed, I guess. So I imagine the back, these are like assless chaps almost. So his back can show with all his spines. But yeah, those were this guy's characters. But yeah, I get to pluck away at my stuff now and then. Yeah, Shadow. I completely sympathize with you. I've never really had a best friend either. My best friend right now is my boyfriend, and he's been amazing. I've known him for like 15 years, and we started dating 5 years ago, but I've known him since I was in my teens. And I'm in my 30s now, and he's almost 40, so thank you, Shadow. Yeah, I like Procreate. I want to use it more. I really like Clip Studio, though, for their line work. I feel like they're superior in terms of line. Like, if you're looking for very smooth lines, use Clip Studio. Procreate also has a stabilizer, but I don't like it at all. It feels really weird, and it makes the lines look strange, but Clip Studio's got, I think, the whole, side of that industry just nailed down. Photoshop's a joke when it comes to stabilizing, but... Oh yeah, hedgehogs are chubby. I'm more of a hamster chick. This is my starting animation and I'm riding a hamster. It's a little old at this point, but we had a hamster that passed in July. His name was Kukui. He's a little fat boy. He's on my Instagram if anybody wants to see him. My socials are these. So I primarily use Instagram, but Instagram, Patreon, yeah, Sophia, yeah, Kukui died. There was a whole dedicated stream I had to it. You could probably find it. I did like a memoriam piece to him. So that's on Twitch somewhere. Or it's on my YouTube if it's been too long. But yeah, I think the stream after he died, I was like, I need to do something. So, no, it's okay. It's been months. Months. Like I said, it was like July. So, it's okay. He was a good ham. We gave him a good ham life. I have had many ham in my time. But he was a good one. He is my little grumpy man. He was so grumpy. Is there no music anymore? What happened to music, you guys? Whew. Yeah. He was a drummin'. He was my little drummer boy. That hamster could keep a beat on that wheel, let me tell you. Let's see. So I'm not even putting in much of the lighting yet, either. I think I'm going to do a lot of that in post digitally. So right now it's a lot of what I call, I guess, ambient occlusions, since I have a 3D background. It's like all of the shadows that would basically be there anyway, without lighting. So I don't know what else to call it, at least in traditional terms. Also, hi Sophia, how have you been? How do you recommend an OC or character? Well, thanks, Alex. Hedgehog, what do you mean? Recommend OC or character? What do you mean by that? Yeah. Sophia, I'm curious. Have you noticed a lull in Twitch as well? Like, since our glory days, I guess. Have you noticed it's kind of died? Like, not many follows, not many bits, not many subs, nothing? Or are you still doing pretty good? I know a friend of mine is still doing pretty good, but he streams like all the time. I wonder if those of us who don't stream as religiously anymore are having more trouble. I don't know. Oh, how would you request me? Well, unfortunately, I'm so busy you would need to pay me. And I'm not exactly cheap right now, but my Patreon is set up so that you can save up for a commission if you end up wanting me to do a commission, but it's a good chunk, especially depending on what you want me to do. So if you are interested, this is my Etsy, and you can see my typical commission prices. And then my Patreon, if you look at the Vigilant Voucher tier, you can find out how you would save up for one overtime. I use Patreon as a commission financing platform, which has made it pretty nice for people that, you know, can't put down a giant chunk of money. They can actually pay for it over time, which it's more like layaway, where you pay a little bit every month, and then once it's paid off, then the order goes in. But I've had many people do that, and it works out fine. I actually really like the system because a lot of people trust Patreon, and you know, it still gives me money to eat every month. So you're welcome. Thanks for your interest. Yeah, that's Gabe is cooking the dogs dinner. We make them every meal. Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you, Sophia, for like being able to pull out of social media a bit, because yeah, it's a little bad for your mind. I had to as well. I don't post near as much, and I try not to get into anything. I got into this huge Twitter thing a couple weeks ago. It's so dumb. So yeah, I don't see social media really worth my time unless it's business related, and even then it's like grain of salt, you know. This should be gold. He was cooking the dog. No. Though one of our dogs could probably fit in our microwave. But we would never cook dog. I mean, we're vegetarians first off, so not on the menu, man. Not now, not never. Speaking of cooking, I am getting hungry. We usually eat dinner at like 8 to 10, somewhere in there. So we're usually up pretty late, so. I could see that, Saphira. Well, good for you. It sounds like you're really condensing down what you need and learning all that. That's great. Proud of you. A lot of people can't do that. They just keep going with what's there and what's been there, and they don't really question their what they need, you know? Which I was technically one of those people when I had a career. I didn't really, in a day job, I didn't really second guess anything I was doing because I had money to do it. So I just would sub to something and just be on it. But I never thought, you know, did I need this all the time? Until I got, you know, freelance and independent, and then I'm like, well, I need the money, so I'm not going to waste it on this thing. Makes me wonder how much money I could have saved if I didn't, spend it unknowingly. Bob Ross is always streaming. That channel is great. It's hilarious to me that he streams even in death. It's crazy. Like, he started in the 70s. Isn't that crazy to think of that, like, an artist from the 70s who had a little show is now streaming on a major platform. Posthumous, How weird is that? That's so tech. That would be in a sci-fi movie 10 years ago. It's so weird. Cute. Bob Ross pop figure. There's a cool, mini documentary about him and his paintings. I forget if it was on YouTube or on an actual channel. I think it was on YouTube. But it talks about how, no one has actually been able to buy his paintings, and there's a place that just has all his paintings. It's crazy. Who has the rights to sell them and all that. Really interesting thing. If you can find it, it's cool. I think you could just probably search Bob Ross paintings, video, documentary, something. Gabe, do you remember if that was on YouTube or where did we see that?
What's that?
Bob Ross paintings thing? I forget if that was on an actual channel or what. Who does this one? It's probably just that blue and the sword. Full-time job. All these things. I totally understand, Sophia. That's where I was. So the fact that I totally turned my life upside down 180 really helped me. I do art 24/7 now, and I'm happy. And I'm doing every bit of my time I feel like is used, and I'm productive. And as much as I'd like it to slow down, I am still happy I have it, I have Serenity, yeah. I remember Nightshade started watching the show before he actually watched the old movie. I'm like, that's an 80s movie, right? And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, don't watch the show yet. Go watch the movie first. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he messaged me later. He's like, Ash, do you like this? This is so this is you. And I was like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, Brian Froud is a master. It was just funny. But yeah. What would be a good name for a pet, Alex? He's so loud. So loud. With the exercising, start small. Just do 5 to 10 minutes of running or something very, very small. Don't try to go hard on anything. If you want to lose weight, don't exactly build strength. You gotta do cardio, come down a bit, and then start strength, or else you're just gonna build muscle under your fat, and it doesn't work. I had to do a bunch of cardio. I lost 50 pounds a while ago, and I was too big. But it's you gotta kind of do the cardio first, and then worry about toning and strength. But you gotta start small. When I first started on the elliptical, it's probably 7 years ago now. When I started, I hated running. I hated it. I still kind of hate it, but I like the effect too much, so it kind of evens out. But I started on the elliptical doing like 5 to 10 minutes. Hated it, didn't want to do it ever, but had to do it anyway. And just telling myself, okay, just 5 minutes, whatever, I'll do it, and then I'll just get off if I'm not happy. I would usually get on, and by 5 minutes passing, I'm like, I could go to 10. And then when 10 minutes passes, you know, maybe stop at 10 minutes if you're just starting. But if you've been doing it for a month or so, be like, I could go to 20, and then like comfortably increase it. And now it's like I run for an hour every day. I do strength training and stuff. But it's like, you know, it's whatever your body can handle. Just make sure you're starting small, because if you don't and you run too long or something, or you make yourself sore, there's a bigger chance you won't go back to it, because then you need to take a day off because you're too sore, and then by the time you go back to it, you may not want to, or it's just not there anymore, you know? So just try to, you know, be good about it and treat yourself good. Go easy. Especially if you're not used to exercising. And get a playlist you can be excited about. I found out that was something important too. Like, I don't listen to my run songs or playlist outside of running. I make sure that's just for that time, so that I get amped up to hear those songs and stuff. So after 7 years, I've had to kind of revamp my run list a bunch of times, but I at least now know what kind of songs work and all that. But I would highly suggest to, you know, save those songs for exercising. You're welcome. Oh, Bob Ross for a dog? Yeah, I guess that could be cute. I don't know. I think it's more funny to, like, think of a name that maybe, you know, not many people have used for an animal or something. Or I'm a big fan of animals named after food. Like, Gabe has a friend whose dog's name is Burger Time. We originally wanted to name Bruni Dump Truck. Like, I don't know. Original names I find are kind of fun. There's an online dog I like. Her name's Beth. Like, who names their dog Beth? I love it. She's funny as hell, too. Oh my god. It's a 3-legged Frenchie, too, and she's just hilarious. She's got so much spunk. Yeah, 20 minutes, Serenity, if that's your first exercise goal, that is a long time. Okay? Like, start smaller than that. Maybe just 5 minutes, especially if you have health issues. Start a lot smaller. And don't feel bad about it. Just be happy. Like, I really attribute losing all the weight I did to telling myself something is better than nothing. So if I run for even a minute, that's better than not running at all. You know, so whatever you can do, it's still better than doing nothing, right? And whatever you can do comfortably and safely, you know, do it that way. But, you know your body best. Do what's right for you. I can only tell you what worked for me. But still, something is better than nothing. And I apply that to everything. That's honestly how I got to becoming freelance, too. I ended up becoming kind of a weekend warrior, weekday night warrior. Like, every night I'd get home from work, I would eat a small dinner, and then I'd go and I'd just grind at art, you know? So I had the 9 to 5 as well. And then after a while, you have to start building your new ship, your freelance ship you're going to jump to, by meaning build that, you know, social media, build a money cushion, all these sorts of things. You have to build a new ship while you're still on an old one, because if you jump to, you know, a new thing when it's barely made, you're going to drown. So, you know, it's just part of planning where you're going to be. So I'm going to supplement a lot of this with pastels for those that weren't here at the beginning. This is just the render phase. I will have a phase where I call it my pastel punch, and I go through and I pump up values and change colors and stuff with pastels. I'm technically a mixed media artist, I guess. So I use a lot of different mediums. Something you like, Hedgehog. If you're just starting to draw something you like. And if you're not just starting to draw and you're seasoned with drawing, draw something you like. Hi, Butter. What are you doing? Did she go out recently? Good girl. You good girl. Bad workout is better than no workout. 100%. You got it. It's still a workout, isn't it? Oh, fever. Serenity, you shouldn't even be working out if you have a fever. That was something I had to learn too. Like, not to push myself like crazy when I was sick, because it's going to take you twice as long to get better. So if you're ever sick, do not push yourself. Sit the fuck down. Take a nap, you know. Your body needs to rest, or else it's going to take you way longer to get better. And then you'll really be upset. Oh, you're French girls. You don't have anything you like? Bullshit. You like hedgehogs. That's something. Like, think of your favorite animals. Think of your favorite environmental elements. Think of your favorite vehicles. Think of your favorite types of buildings. Think of cool creatures you like. Do you like aliens? Do you like ghosts? Do you like goblins? Do you like demons? Do you like, you know, unicorns? What do you like? You gotta like something. Ah, serenity. Quitting is fine when you're sick. Don't get on yourself for that. I think it's fine. It's better than, you know, doing the 1 step forward, 2 steps back scenario. Okay, I think I have to go because A, I'm hungry, and B, I'm hungry. So I think I might go in the next 5 minutes. So if anybody wants to ask anything, talk about anything, let me know. If you backed Gabe's Kickstarter, thank you. We've already put in orders for a lot of the stuff we're going to be getting, and I've been talking with a lot of people. The only bad thing about it is some of the China stuff that we have that's going to be coming from China has a little bit of a extra weight because of their virus going around. A lot of their companies are actually closed. So I think like the pins are a bit stunted at the moment. Luckily I put them in before it was over, but yeah, hopefully things can get better there. We can get back on track. Because I heard something like 2 weeks after like stuff stops over there that things start affecting over here, basically. Oh god, Sophia, gross. No. Then sculpt something, Hedgehog. Our P.O. box, for anybody that wants to know, is underneath the video here on desktop versions. If you're on mobile, I guess I can. 595. But yeah, our P.O. box is always underneath our video if you're on a computer. If you're on your phone, there you go. The cold we got in December, no one wanted anything, just going to the store and get food was a struggle. Yeah, man, I've heard so many people being sick, Galactica. That's crazy. Thank you for the idea for fan art, Hedgehog. And that'd be lovely. And if you want to sculpt something, sculpt something. If you want to draw something, draw something. Whatever you want to do, do it. You're at an age you can do whatever you want. So go for it. When you're young, do everything you can. Experiment with all the things, because that's going to help you figure out what you like the most. Because if you don't experiment with a bunch of stuff, you have maybe 1 or 2 things you try. Maybe you're like, oh, I'll just stick with this. You stick with that for 10 years, let's say. And then you try other things. It's like you could have been spending part of those 10 years on the thing that's really you. So it's really important early on to, you know, be true to yourself. And that can change too later on. Like if you find, damn, I'm 18 and sculpting is my thing. Do it. Do it until you don't want to do it anymore. And then be like, man, I kind of like illustration now. Switch over. Do it. Do it then. Always do what you want to do, otherwise you're going to be upset. And simple. Oh god, Galactica, that sucks. I hope you feel better soon. Maybe spring will help. Unless you got allergies like me and Gabe. That's when we get messed up. We don't usually get like bad sick ever, especially because we got flu shots and everything. Very important to get flu shots if you go to conventions. And the gym. Very important. But yeah, we don't usually get sick, but we do have allergies really bad. So, if we're sniffling, usually 9 out of 10 times it's going to be that. Oh, slight cough? Okay. Well, I hope you don't get sick again. I always hated being sick in like spring and summer. Fall and winter it felt more merited, you know, that you can cozy up and whatever, but being sick in like the spring and summer sucks. It's hot or it's gross out. Ugh. You feel like you're wasting time indoors. I don't know. Seems to suck more. It's like sweat extra bad. Ugh. Oh god, and Serenity. Yeah, I hope none of us get that virus. We shouldn't. They're doing a pretty good job of quarantining people. There were cruise ships that they diverted, and they docked certain people, and then they've been quarantining a lot. People that come from overseas, so I think they're doing a decent job containing it from how it sounds. Alright. I think I'm about ready to head out and go get some food. There you go, that's a good thing to end on. Good night, don't let your dreams be dreams. There you go. Oh wow, neurovirus? That sucks. I'm sorry, Galactica. I hope, well, at least it was only 2 days. Let's see who's on. See if we can raid anybody. The rating system now is kind of strange. I don't know when it's like rating and when it's not. Because it used to be when the raid was like official, it would just flip over. You know, your channel would become theirs, but now it's weird. There's none. Doesn't look like any of my friends are streaming. Oh well. Recalendars again. Oh no! That's no good. Alright guys. Well, there's this. You can't really see it because of the light, but we got some values in. We colored it. Still got a ways to go. I'd say it's almost at 50%. I'm gonna do a lot digitally though, also because it's a book cover. I gotta add a title and a bunch of subtext and stuff. So anyway, thank you for coming. I might just start streaming on Saturdays. It seems like more people are here on Saturdays. So maybe we'll switch over. We'll try next Saturday too. I should be here. I'll be at C2E2. Gabe's gonna be at Emerald City. So if you're gonna be at either of those conventions, come see us. Say hi. Let's see what else. Thank you! Rock! You're awesome. Thank you so much. The bits are back. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, here are my socials. Find me on all those. And Gabe streams on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. CST. I'll stream on Saturday at 7 p.m. CST. So, until we meet again, you be good. You stay away from the coronavirus. Take care of yourself. Get some exercise. Get some sleep. Get some food. All right. Bye.